p.m. This is a regular city council meeting of the Williston City Council. It's Tuesday, February the 21st. I will say that the mayor will join us later. He is at a funeral. And Mr. Cox was on a field trip with his grandson, and I think he was due to get in at 6:15. I don't know if he's going to join us or not, but that's all I know. If you will, at this time, we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Robinson is going to do the prayer for us.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this night. We thank you for all the meetings here tonight with everybody here, Lord. We pray that you would put your blessings on this council as they make decisions for the city, that you would lead, guide, and direct them, Lord. We pray that you would just be with the police and fire and protect them in their duties. And we pray that you would be with our military wherever they may be and protect them also, Lord. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we do have a pretty full agenda tonight, even though it's only 92 pages, and many of our agendas are twice that. I will ask, with item number 1, for additions, deletions, changes, or approval of the agenda. I have been asked to pull item 5B, which is the townhouses and duplexes second read. I have also, on page 3, been asked to pull item K, which is the discussion regarding the city clerk's evaluation, because we have not received them all. So unless somebody has something they want to discuss in that regard, we're going to postpone until our next meeting, and we're going to be really good stewards and get all of our evaluations in. I'm so proud of you. You must have done them later this afternoon. They weren't there at 3 o'clock. So, okay, mine's not either, so here we go. I won't blame anybody else because we're all in the same boat. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from anyone? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 2 is public participation. This is the first opportunity for the public to speak to us about something that is not on our agenda. Oh, I forgot the roll call. I talked about it, but we didn't do it. So we'll let her do it first.
Who wasn't coming?
Yeah.
Council President Jones,
Here.
Vice President Robinson,
Here.
Councilmember Bullock,
Here.
Councilmember Ross,
Here.
City Manager Terry Bovard,
Here.
Attorney Kirsten Ballou,
Here.
City Clerk Latricia Wright, I'm here, and as Ms. Turner stated, Mayor Goodman is going to be late, and Councilmember Cox is going to be late, and all other staff.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you again. For public participation, if there's anyone who would like 5 minutes to speak with us, or up to 5 minutes to speak to us about any item that is not on the agenda, this is your first opportunity of the night. I see a couple movements. Good evening, Mr. Fuller.
Good evening, Albert Fuller from Williston. I just have a brief announcement, and the announcement is that we will be having a beginning meeting for the Williston Community Garden this Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock out at the garden. So we're asking anyone that's interested in helping or finding out how do you access things in the garden, please come out. It should not be a long meeting. We'll have a walk around afterwards, but the meeting should be about 30 to 45 minutes.
Thank you. Ms. Applin.
Good afternoon, Jacqueline Applin. I would just like to thank everyone who helped with the first cleanup or the third annual cleanup on 335 and the 335 entry to 318 entry to the park. So we did pick up some trash, a lot more out there, so I'm sure there'll be another cleaning day. So thank you to everyone that helped, the chief for them as far as golf cart, that helped with getting trash to the next spot. So there will be another cleanup day coming, so we'll just keep you posted.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate y'all doing that. Anyone else at this time? Okay, if not, we're gonna move to item number 3, which is our consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of February 21st. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and second. Do I have any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 4 is old business. A is staff and board council updates, and we'll start with City Manager Terry Brevard.
I have mine on the agenda, so I'll just wait and do them then.
Hey, that's a great idea.
Okay.
Okay, anybody from staff have anything they'd like to add at this time?
Does it have to be to the agenda? Go ahead, Dave.
Mr. Airport Manager Steele. I hear mumbling, but I saw your hand first.
Yes, ma'am. Just want to remind everybody the Chamber of Commerce event this Saturday, Miles and Smiles. The big Cha-Cha truck event centered towards kids. There's going to be bouncy houses and trucks and airboats and all kinds of cool stuff. So, bring kids out. It's going to be a great time.
Thank you. Chief? Which chief? Chief Ross.
I just wanted to give an update on the press release I put out about the 2 wanted subjects. Today, Crime Stoppers ended up some money, $3,500 if one subject is turned in, $5,000 if both are turned in. So just wanted to update everybody on that.
I did hear it on TV 20 tonight before I came.
Okay, there you
So
go.
it's out there.
All right.
Okay, any questions for the chief?
We should do one at a time.
Yeah, you do one at a time, you get a little extra. Such a smart girl. All right, any other staff have anything at this time? Any council member have something that they would, you get another opportunity at the end, but anything now that anybody would like to add? And we will ask the mayor when he gets back. Okay, so we're to item number 5, which is new business. Item A is discussion with possible action of temporary use permit for church service. And I have Miss Jones, her name is on this.
Good evening, council. Remember about a year ago we did a temporary permit for a gun show out at Air Sign? So this is the same kind of permit. It's a temporary use for church services. When I have it in the parking lot, they'll have a tent. A little bit of a difference for this one is that it's going to be 5 days instead of 2. It will be in the evenings, so it's not going to be all day. It'll be about 4 to 5 hours, and they're calling it a church revival.
I could say my main concerns are because it's in the evening, and there's a lot of houses in that area.
Well,
Chief
can we,
Siegel.
which parking lot? Where's what parking lot? Is it back down?
Air Sign.
Oh, okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure. We weren't sure where it was. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's where all the new houses are that are down that road. They probably built, 12 houses in that area, 12, 15 houses. It's where Dixie Lily was, except all the houses are to the left. And if you go down the road, the parking lot for the tent revival. Did they ask for that location, Ms. Jones, or did we steer them to that location?
Oh, no, ma'am, they came in to me and asked me
Okay,
for, they already had it worked out with the Air Sign owners.
I wondered about that. And I didn't see any times, any hours of operation. I looked all over the application, I didn't see that.
He hasn't been able to confirm it yet until he knows that he can do it. But he was talking about 4 o'clock to about 7 or 8. So not real long into the night.
I don't have a problem with 4 to 7, but if it gets much longer than that,
It's not here.
they're not here. I mean, how do y'all feel? Is it just me that has that issue?
Did they say it was a gun show?
No, it's a tent revival. So I know they're gonna have music, and I don't know how loud it'll be. It's where they had the gun show before, at the old Dixie Lily parking lot. I'll just say it that way, where they're putting the tractor tractors together for Royal King. I saw Mr. Johnson first. If you will join me at the, I'm sorry, just so they can pick it up.
When would it take place? What
March
month?
12th through March 19th.
Does the time change at that time?
That's
Time
why,
is changing then for that, 7 or for that.
yeah, that's why I'm a little worried about it.
If the time is not changing, that would be probably.
I don't know when the time changes. Does anybody know when the time changes?
March 12th.
Oh, it does change on, so this is a Sunday to a Sunday probably. 'Cause it is 8 days, I counted them up on my little fingers when I counted. So it's probably Sunday to Sunday,
And it's March,
12th.
so it's changing.
March 12th to 19th, that's the day it changes.
Okay, well, it wouldn't be a safety hazard. Thank you.
Except it's gonna get darker, isn't it?
No, it's right.
Oh, it's gonna go the other way, that's good, that helps. That's right, spring forward.
Yes, ma'am.
I keep forgetting that spring's been so.
It's gonna be for a week.
Alright, so how, Chief Rolls, I see your hand, I'm sorry.
I only have one concern, is we all know that is a dangerous intersection. 121 and Noble, that's a very dangerous intersection unless we can come up with some kind of way to reroute them where they're not all stopping in front of,
When they hit
The Circle
Northwest
K?
Main too, there's no stop sign there.
yeah, and when they hit Circle K, if you get 4 or 5 cars backed up, they're now blocking 121 from coming on to Main, Noble. So, I'm at Main Street, so that would be my only concern, is if there was some kind of way we can address that traffic, because we all know that section is bad anyway.
It is.
And then between 4 and 7, when everybody's coming home, you're in trouble.
It's hard now to get across, to come in here at
Yes.
this time.
Yes,
I'm concerned about traffic.
yeah.
And
That's the
I'm-
only
And I'm
complaint I'll
concerned
have,
about the
concern
noise.
I'll have.
So we need to verify the times for sure. Or steer them in a different direction. Do we have another location we could
What
think?
about where they do the carnival? They
Out at the airport,
cross there in that field, I mean.
There's no current electricity in the field. Because it's been turned off. That's the only thing I can think of.
You could approve it with conditions. This would be the approval, though. I wouldn't bring it back to you, but you could approve it with conditions. Either they hire you guys to direct traffic, or what other conditions you have. But you have the option of doing that. So I don't have to bring it back with details.
I mean, if they get in there on the first night and the music is really loud, and we start getting phone calls from the residents within 2 or 3 blocks, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
If the music is too loud, then that's another ordinance that they're breaking.
I would, under the condition that they find some way to control traffic, hire our police officer.
It would take 2. Yeah,
Yeah, because there's 2 different intersections there.
yeah, it would definitely take 2, because you're gonna have to, deal with 121.
Yeah.
Right.
As well as,
Northwest Main.
Northwest Main, going both ways. And 4 o'clock is just bad timing.
How many days is it gonna last?
8 days, 8 evenings.
I mean, I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying it's a dangerous intersection.
It is.
And, it's too congested, and if you get 150 people coming to that church revival trying to get in there off of Northwest Main, it's gonna create a traffic jam. So if there's some other way, I'm fine with it, I just don't know any other way to get
I was
there.
just trying to think of another location that wasn't contiguous to residential area.
Yeah.
Mainly what I was thinking of too, and I didn't even think about the traffic, but you're right about that. It does. We could steer them that way.
They can be loud out there.
They can be as loud as they want to out there. Yeah.
Are they definite about the times? Cause if they do it at different times of the day, when the traffic
times?
is not as bad?
I mean, I don't think that the temporary use permit, when you first fill it out, it doesn't ask you all these details, so that's why, if you wanna tell them that they could do it from 12 to 3 or something, I could tell them that.
I can't see that
But-
anybody would come 12 to 3.
I can't
And they
either.
want people after they get home from work. I mean, I understand that they want people in the evening. And if it started at 6, it would probably be over by, 7 or 8.
What about the location up on top of the hill where they sell the fireworks and all that stuff right off of, across from McDonald's and all that? I mean, there's not very many houses in that area.
Other than the apartment complex,
That's
that
it.
has the 4 apartments.
Right.
Yeah, they can face the music out towards the road though.
Right.
Is it big enough?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's the Whitehurst property.
Right.
Oh,
That is
yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Chief, where would they park?
Oh, they can park, they have those car tent sales there and they park cars all over that place.
That's true.
And if anything, they could park at the hospital parking lot and walk across.
Yeah. I mean, they have those car sales there and they have 100 cars there, so there's plenty of parking and room to put the tent up.
And they could approach it from the back side
Yes,
and not impede the front side, the
Yes.
front flow of traffic.
yes.
I mean, I know time is of essence here. They need to know something.
They could do the same thing at the Dixie Lily. They can approach from the backside, and that'd be their point of ingress and egress, and then avoid those intersections altogether, going out onto 41.
How would they come in from the back?
Yeah.
4th Street.
And not come by all the houses?
I mean, they can come by the houses, but as far as not getting back onto 41 right there, I mean, they can come down, down that same road right beside McMillan's, or they can go that back road by the tennis courts and, ingress and egress right there.
I know, but if people aren't from Williston, they're not gonna know to do that. I mean, we know to do that, but those are back roads.
You could put signage up. I mean,
Not
that could be
me.
a condition. No, I understand, not you, but, I mean, there's a million different ways that you can make this work. I mean,
The hill.
Mr. Barber?
Yeah, at that time, the backside of that is not a good option. We're in the middle of a gas install, and that could still be occurring during that time period. So we have an entire lane shut down, 4th Street, 4th Ave, and part of 7th. So the back of that's not a good option. So I agree with Chief. I think the best thing to do is encourage a different location unless they hire officers.
And the road that goes through where the houses are, it is so narrow, they're, I don't know if you've been down that street lately, but where their mailboxes are, they're right at the edge of the pavement. And you almost can't pass 2 cars on that street. I don't know why we didn't enlarge that street before we let people build on it. I guess they did it before we knew they were gonna build 15 houses. Mr. Pavard.
So one recommendation that you mentioned was Horseman's Park. We just so happen to have a meeting with them on Thursday. And we can float the ideal by them, see if they're willing to be receptive to that. And that may be another option somebody already mentioned. It is away from the housing, in and out, it's not that bad. The chief may still require law enforcement presence there for traffic control, even regardless of wherever you're at. We'll be glad to talk to them. We have to approve this tonight, Laura, to get it done?
Well, you have to approve it or disapprove it.
I can't table it. I know the timing is short.
The 12th?
I mean, you could approve it with special conditions, but if they go and they do it at,
Oh, that's right.
Whitehurst,
Yeah, I think that's better is the hill. It's easy access.
what's the hill? Whitehurst.
Yeah, we're still gonna hear the whole.
I mean,
All the bad traffic
on
41 where people's coming from Dunellen.
we're steering them to 2 places that is gonna
Church of
charge
God
them,
gets out
and
of
this
right there.
place is not charging them, so I'm not sure if that's gonna work.
I think under the condition that they hire two police officers to control traffic. I'm not crazy.
The only thing is we're telling them they should go to these other
That's
places,
the only
but
one
those
that
places are gonna charge them a fee.
The Dixie Lily.
Yeah, I don't really want to do Fuller. Does anybody know, is this group with any church that's local? Are they traveling through? I know I probably shouldn't ask that question, but that's probably not a good legal question to ask, but I don't know where they came from. Does anybody know where they came from?
It doesn't say.
Where they came from.
It's not a church, well, it is a church, I saw it, it is listed. It's right after the name on the application, but it's nothing around here. It's something, looking for Jesus or something like that. Let's see, Finding Hope in Jesus Christ. That's what it says, Finding Hope in Jesus Christ. So I'd say they're a traveling, we don't have any information on the group itself. Do we have any insurance on them? Of course, they would have to have it, not us.
It's private property.
That's what I said, they would have to have it, not us.
But if they don't get it,
Yeah,
then who's got the responsibility?
it'd probably fall on us for giving them a permit.
It would.
Yeah. Doesn't look too promising to me.
That doesn't to me either.
I was sent into the Horseman's Park, knowing that the noise and the traffic would not bother anyone.
Yeah.
And we have one more meeting if it needs to be approved at that time.
About the electric, is the electric on it?
Anybody want to make a motion, or do you want to just give it back to them to bring back to us? Yeah, how does everybody feel about it? Or if y'all want to make a motion and vote on it, we can, but if not, tell me what you want to do.
I think I'm gonna leave it up to the police chief. If he thinks he can handle it through them time zones with, say, 2 police officers in it, not hurt the city of Williston for what you've gotta do. And, you know, I know they hire them generally separately, but if you think you can handle it during them time frames on that intersection, then I'll put it in your hands.
What about the noise?
You mean over here?
Noise.
No, I'm talking about where they wanna do it at. If the chief thinks he can handle it
Over here.
at 41, yeah, right here, by Dixie River.
What about the
If the chief
noise?
thinks he can handle it. Well, I think that from the picture that they showed on there, it looks like that tent's set back a pretty good ways, so I mean.
Because they usually do a lot of
I'd say
music,
still do a
there's usually a lot of music and a big PA system.
Well, I say there needs to be a 7 o'clock, noise turned off.
Well, it is a church, you know, I've seen a lot of churches, we don't be shutting churches down. But if we're gonna do the police officer, like the chief is saying, if there's one noise complaint, it's just a matter of one officer saying, okay, you guys gonna hold the noise down, we shut you down. We have the time, and all Laura's asking for tonight is do it with contingencies. Ms. W said we have another meeting. If the contingencies are not followed, you don't lose anything, you just shut it down. They have to go somewhere then, they come in, go to the Horseman's Park, but all she's asking for tonight is just approve it.
I think once they shut it down, I don't think they could move at that time, it's too
Well,
late.
then they're out of gas, they can go to the next city.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I say we approve it
With the contingencies in place.
Contingencies at 7 o'clock, it's gonna be school night, so at 7 o'clock, noise needs to be shut down.
Okay, I see my chief waving his
What's
hand.
your noise ordinance?
I believe the noise ordinance starts at 10, right?
It does.
So what happens between 4 and 7? If it's not violating the noise ordinance, then I can't shut them down.
It depends on the decibels are too loud.
Yeah, but we don't have a certified decibel meter.
No, we don't.
To measure the
Stand
noise.
within a certain
I
period
would
of.
just tell them that 7 o'clock is a good
Alright,
time.
y'all decide. I don't think it's a good place to put it. We'll do what you wanna do. If you wanna do that, make a motion. I mean, if you want to, make a motion. That's what she's asking
Well,
for.
I wanna know if the chief can handle that.
As far as the traffic goes, I mean, you put 2 officers out there, yeah, we can stop traffic. Is it gonna create a problem? Yeah, it will. The situation that we're in though is that the noise ordinance starts at 10 o'clock. So if they're blasting at 7:30, 8 o'clock, I mean,
There is a noise ordinance that's longer than, it's all day. I mean, if there's somebody driving down the street that has a boom box going that's too loud,
not anymore, ma'am.
That's different.
they changed it.
Mhm.
Cause I know people who've gotten tickets
Yeah,
for
not
having
anymore.
too loud music, and it wasn't 10 o'clock at night.
Yep. State statute was changed on that.
Oh, the state statute changed.
Well, now, there's another church there. It's just close to that intersection. Mormon church is there.
Right.
So we're gonna get everybody piled up on everybody and expect the police department to straighten it out?
That's what somebody's saying over there.
But I'm asking if he thinks he can handle it, if he says.
Well, they would have to pay for the officers.
Right, I know, right,
Yes.
but still, I don't want it to jeopardize the city of Williston being shorthanded on officers to be working this, and we need to be doing something different.
For 2 officers.
I say, deny it and move them to the Horseman's Park if possible. I make a motion, that we deny it and push them to go to the Horseman's Park.
I'd second that.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Or can we approve it contingent upon they move?
Right.
And rather
You
than,
said it, yeah.
rather than just deny it outright, can we approve
Are
it?
you asking them to go to Horseman's Park at the rodeo or at Horseman's Park at the field with no power?
I'm asking,
Where the rodeo or where the fireworks is, whichever one they can find out there. I mean, anywhere out there that's suitable, I'd say.
I'd say call the Horseman's Park and ask them if they can rent the facility. Then they'll have restrooms, they'll have picnic tables, they'll have a pavilion. They may not even need to put their tent up. They can use the pavilion.
Yeah.
Yeah, Airsign was gonna give them the property for no fee.
And also insurance.
It don't matter to me, if you can handle it, then good, I don't care. We gotta move on.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Y'all scared me for a minute there. All right, so you got that, Laura? Direct them in that direction. If not, they can come back May, whatever it is, for a second.
Well, no, I'm confused. I'm directing them to go to that place. Is this approved if they go to that place?
Yes.
Yes.
With no fees then? Because fees is something else that you need to discuss in
Now, the
this.
fees for them to work out with the Horseman's Park.
Yeah, but we have a special permit fee as
Oh,
well.
well, they have to pay for the permit fee.
Yeah, they have to go through all that, but.
Okay, but you guys established the permit fee. Last time
Well,
you
you put
established.
$100 in
For
here.
the gun show, you guys did $110.
100, right? There you go.
So you wanna do the same? Okay, I got you.
$110 and proof of insurance.
Says they're on our property, if they're on the Horseman's Park. They should have insurance if they're
They should, that's
Church.
the word, should.
all right, we're moving to the next thing here. Where are we? We skipped item B. We can turn the page. On item C, first reading of ordinance 2023-709, an ordinance of the city of Williston, Florida, approving authority? Am I reading that wrong? Approving authority for golf cart operation of city streets within the city of Williston, creating section whatever is recommended to the City of Williston Code of Ordinances entitled Use of Golf Carts on Designated Streets, repealing any ordinance in conflict and providing an effective date. City Manager Brevard and Attorney Baloo. Whoever's going first. Oh, the other one was long. Wait, you get to this one.
Before they go too far, I'd like to know what Chief Rose thinks about the idea of the golf cart. Cause he's got to be the one enforcing whatever it is. I'd like to know what
I think he's worked with the group and helped make this policy. And I'm sure he'll chime in when we get there. Will that work?
All right, I will start. Hopefully you all have had an opportunity to look over the ordinance. Essentially, we worked with Ray Pierce, we worked with obviously city staff, and this is what we came up with for you. There are two separate ordinances. This ordinance that you're considering right now is regarding the operation of the golf carts on the roads. We'll get to the parking ordinance after this. So there are two separate ordinances to be considered separately, though obviously if we don't approve this one, that may impact the other one to some extent. You asked us to put together an ordinance which would allow golf carts to operate on certain designated streets in the city of Williston, and that's what you have before you.
But I have no map.
There's no map.
That's the first thing I looked for, was the map with the designated streets.
There's not a map somewhere.
Originally.
Go ahead, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I looked everywhere for a map. There's not one in our packet.
I see paper shuffling, so.
I got an old one.
I don't even have an old one.
So originally, when Wright Pierce did the actual, and I know Walt is with us, when Wright Pierce, Dennis actually did the presentation to City Council, there was a 6-step process, and with that was the map. So the way this is supposed to happen is that the steps and the processes aren't necessarily meant to be in order. The idea was to create the original first ordinance, and then if it was approved, then Wright Pierce would take the map that was presented to y'all at that time, go out, ride those roads, determine if those roads are suitable for golf cart usage, and determine, and Walt jump in there anytime, and determine signage, where it needs to be, how it needs to be, and come back to the city, and we would pass that requirement as a resolution to the ordinance and what road we would adopt.
Okay.
So there's not a map, it's not a blanket like, okay, right now, right up front, if you approve this, we're not saying that you can just drive on any city streets. Matter of fact, we're far from a golf cart getting on the city streets in Williston. There's a lot that still needs to be done.
Right.
As we know, nobody can cross by law a state highway, so they will be restricted to their quadrants. And then there's the issue of once let's say that they come out and they determine, okay, these are the number of streets that needed to be done, then we gotta buy the signs, post the signs, put them up there in order to make it, the ordinance, illegal. So there was, if I can bring your attention or remind you, so there was a project initiation with the first task, that's what Dennis talked about, the code research that was done on how the structure of the ordinance would be made, what we could and couldn't do. We thought at the very beginning we could be very restrictive, and we found out that there's case law and Attorney General's opinion that prevents us from doing that. So then the next step would be, if the city ordinance is passed, we would then review the streets, which is a process that I laid out to you. And then there's another part where we would coordinate with FDOT and the county to maybe one day hopefully be able to transition across those state roads, and then recommend for improvements of how we would manage that. And we've had multiple discussions, a lot of work by Wright Pierce, a lot of looking at the ordinance. So like I said, the first one is the actual use of the ordinance and where you can do the golf carts at, what the limits are of the golf carts. During the daytime, they're basically, you can read it, where you don't have to have turn signals, no brake lights, no headlights, you don't have to have anything. Basically, if it's approved as a golf cart for like a golf course use, it's legal on the streets. The minute night hits, the bottom line is you gotta have all those things. In addition to that, we made a requirement where you had to be at least a licensed driver to have that. And then there's a lot of stipulations in here of how we can control the use of the golf carts. So that is the process.
So the first step is to see if we can get it passed, and then to go a little deeper in it.
Yeah.
To get the roads designated, and then signage and permitted.
Yes, and then actually, if you look at it, where I put on there the fiscal impact, there will be a fiscal impact on the city to meet this requirement as of Exhibit A, B, 1, and 2 of this ordinance, which is on the top of your original first ordinance, and that is time is undetermined. I can tell you that in all likelihood, the cost is going to be probably somewhere around $8,000 for the signage and the tooling to put the signages in the road, unless Walt and them come back and say, Terry, you need 200 signs. and then that's gonna double, depending on which sign we pick. And of course, we'll have some here for y'all to look at if you'd like. But Walt, would you like to chime in?
No, it's done. That was a good explanation. Yeah, we do want to do this in steps for you, because when we first was envisioned, we thought we could have some registration and some more control over the use of golf carts. But the state really has handcuffed any municipality on what you can do. Really, the only thing that you can do that is more restrictive than the state statute is to add operation and controls for unlicensed drivers. So we took that approach to saying, okay, if we can control the operation of unlicensed drivers, we took the stance of, okay, we're going to forbid unlicensed drivers. And that's the way the ordinance is. That's the strongest thing we could do.
Right.
So it's a little bit different than I think what Commissioner Bullock first envisioned when he wanted this, having those controls, and what the police department wanted to have. We just can't do that. So now it's a little bit a different animal, and so we want to make sure that that is going to be acceptable. And so that is all really we can do within state law that we've determined. And if that's acceptable, we will then go ahead and review the roads. We had a map that was prepared by the city of what they would like to have. And for the most part, these roads more than likely will be acceptable. They're fine for vehicles. What we're going to be looking for is there's some maybe steeper cross slopes that might cause more of an overturning for a golf cart if they're taking a turn, or if a slower vehicle on that road is a hazard, the golf carts themselves being on that with carts. So we'll do that then next. The ordinance is only in effect for the designated roads, and they have to be signed. So you could technically approve this ordinance, say today or through its readings, but until the signs are up and those roads are designated, you can't do it. So as you sign the roads, then those roads become valid for golf cart use.
Right.
So, but we will do that, but we don't want to do that if this ordinance as it's worded is unacceptable. We don't want to waste your time
That's
and
the
money
best place to start.
to
Okay,
do all
gotcha.
that. So that's our approach on that. We've worked with city staff talking about it. I've worked with Chief Rolls. He was, we had several meetings and got a lot of his input. This is about the best that we think we could do for within the state statute. And the parking ordinance that comes was kind of the next little bit of a bite that we can put into this.
Okay.
To give the city a little bit more control and oversight on the users.
And when it comes to licensed drivers, how old did you have to have? I'm out of the loop here. How old? Don't you have to be 16 to have a driver's license?
15 for the learner's permit.
Well, then why does it say 14 in this
It says
thing?
14 in there.
It says 14 and
It
below.
says.
Why would it not be
It
16?
can't be, well, what we have in here, and I was just talking about that, is it says 14 and under. Well, I could be 14 and not have a driver's license.
You're not going to have a driver's
Exactly.
license.
My point
And
is
at
that.
15, you're not going to have one either. You're going to have a learner's
But
restricted license.
if you read the section above it, and this may be a typo that we may need to correct here, it says, I just had.
Do you have a page number by
Where
any
you at,
chance?
Mike?
I'll tell you here in just a second.
Page
Exhibit
26
8.
is.
26.
Okay, it's,
Thank you.
Mr. Boulevard, I also have a question. We talk about fixing up these roads
see,
where they're more accessible. We can't even seem to get roads fixed up in town that are already approved. So how are we gonna add on these other ones? I just wonder where.
Well, we're not, Ms. Ross, we're not actually adding on roads. What we're
Well, I'm
doing
adding
is.
repair costs.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm not sure what road you're talking about. We'll be more than happy to take a
I'm not
look
sure
at
what
it.
road we're gonna give them.
Well, the same roads, the actual roads that are being used by the vehicles that transverse through the city will be the same ones that are being used by golf carts. There won't be any special roads, nor will there be special lanes. There'll be signage that indicates that you have to share the road with golf carts.
And if they're wide enough, it may not qualify. I mean, if they're not wide enough, it may not qualify. Okay, so where it says, a golf cart may not be operated on a street by any person under the age of 14, I wish it would say under the age of 16.
Well, that is the state statute.
State statute is 14.
It
The
says
state-
under the age of 14 is the state.
Well, you don't have a valid driver's license when you're
You
14
can-
or 15.
Well, the state does allow unlicensed drivers, unlicensed, to operate a golf cart if you designate the street as a golf cart usable street. The state allows 14 an unlicensed driver, and you can be as young as 14. Can't 13. 14, 15, 16.
Well,
The
we
state
can't
allows
say
that.
they have to be a licensed driver, because 14 and 15 are not.
We can't say that. We can only add an operational exclusion for unlicensed drivers. That's the only thing the state allows a municipality to do. And so we said you must have a license. If they're allowing us to control unlicensed drivers, we're saying then you can't operate. If you don't have a license, you can't operate a golf cart. And that's what we're saying. We can't change the age limit. It's restricted.
Okay, so the people over the age of 16 are the ones who have to have the driver's license. If they're 14 or 15, they don't have to have a driver's license.
If they can get a driver's license,
They still have to operate.
then they can operate.
You can't have a license if you're 14 or 15.
15 and a half.
They can't drive.
The state says we gotta keep that wording in there, but we're making the rule that you have to have a license, so if you're 14, technically you can't drive because you don't have a license.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though the state says you can, Williston says you cannot, because you do not have a license.
I hear you, but I think it's contradicting itself in this ordinance.
Just take it out.
Well,
Can we take out that other part altogether, or does the,
that's state statute, so it doesn't matter. Whether it's in or it's out, it's state
I know it's
statute.
somebody's gonna look at it and say, I'm 14, I get to drive, because it says I can.
No, we specifically say you must be a licensed driver, because that is the one thing we can do for an unlicensed driver. We can add restrictions.
So can we take out number 2
C2.
and leave the number 1?
We should be able to take number 2 out because it's our ordinance. We're not changing the state statute.
You can take.
And there's nothing in the ordinance that says we have to state
It's
the
number
state
2 that
statute.
seems to be contradictory what we're saying.
There's no legal impact of having it in there or not having it in there. because
Exactly.
It is still state statute.
It's still
Thinks
state
they
statute.
can.
It's still a violation of the state statute, even if they think that it's not. But
I'd rather have.
if you would rather have it not in there, it doesn't change who is allowed and who is not allowed on the streets in the ordinance.
Still have to be licensed.
That is correct.
Even if it says you,
Even if we don't have that in, it's still a state law and it still applies in the city of Williston.
Mr. Barber.
I understand why you guys want to remove it, but I think the reason why Wright Pierce recommended that it stay in there, even though, as Kirsten just said, it doesn't matter what their interpretation is one of these phases you guys are asking them to do is go to sit down and have talks with FDOT. And you're trying to show good spirit that you understand the law. It's within the ordinance that you've passed that has their language. So when you have that conversation with FDOT, they look at it, they understand the difference, and you can enter a negotiation a little bit on more level playing field. If you remove it, FDOT is going to probably have a very long discussion. Well, you know you can do this at age 14, and then that starts a whole spiel that you don't have to go down when negotiating transversing the quadrants.
I'm more worried about somebody reading, one of our residents, or one of our residents' parents, reading it and saying, it says here that he can do it,
But
if
your,
he's 14 or 15.
but your next item on the agenda is also going to help you in that regard. So if you get to the next step and you talk about the permitting, there's going to be part of that process with PD where they can educate the public who are going to get involved in
I
it.
just think it contradicts itself.
Yeah, because I have small kids in my neighborhood that drive around in golf carts.
So I have a question of our legal counsel. So can our ordinance be more restrictive? Because I know they certainly cannot be less.
The ordinance in this situation, typically you can, generally speaking, be more restrictive in your ordinances than state law. Generally speaking,
not
there
this
are
one.
exceptions. This is one of the exceptions.
When
You are
can
not
that-
permitted, by Florida statute, explicitly spelled out, in chapter 312 that you are not permitted to be more restrictive regarding licensed drivers. Now, to the extent that we're having discussions such that you think that one of these sections conflicts with the other, I don't read it. I see how you are reading it. I don't read it that way. I posit to you that to the extent that they conflict, the one that's not state statute would then be impermissible. So number 1 would then be permissible if it conflicts with number 2. And I'm confident that
Which
number
means
1.
they can drive if they're 14 or 15.
And I'm confident that number 1 does not violate state statute, which means that it can't conflict with number 2.
But it does. If you're, I mean, I hear what all of you are saying, but if you're a normal person, a citizen who's not used to all the legalese that we read every day, it does conflict.
It does to me.
It says in number 1, you have to be a licensed driver, which means 16. And it says in number 2 that you cannot operate it if you're under the age of 14. Which means you can do it if you're 15 or 16. And 16 we know you can, so it's the 14 and 15.
Item 1 is more restrictive.
Yes.
In our objective. Item 2 is just restating the operational controls that the state does make.
So just rate according to state law.
So I guess my question is, if the police stop somebody who's 14 years old who's driving a golf cart, are they going to get a ticket?
If for some reason they can get a driver's license,
They don't have
then
one.
they won't.
Then they should get a ticket.
Then they will get a ticket.
We have it in our rules, that they gotta have a license, a driver's license, despite what that age says. And also, if they read this, they also see that they also have to have a driver's license to drive.
Okay, so put it this big in the minutes, so when we look for it, when somebody comes in here, we can find it.
Well, my question is, then could I, with a learner's permit, operate this golf cart at 15 years old, or are we saying we have to have an operator's permit at 16?
If you had a restricted license, you'd have to have somebody with a license in the cart with you.
We had this discussion, the reason why I'm asking.
I know you're restating something you already know the answer to.
Well, I don't think we answered it.
I mean, if you're 15 and you have a restricted license, you have to have
An adult.
someone with a full license
Unless
sitting.
you're driving a moped, a moped can do it.
Yeah. Don't even say that word. Okay, so y'all are assuring me that ours is more restrictive, so even though it says that, a 14 and 15-year-old cannot drive our golf cart in Williston.
What does council say?
I mean, I just want to make sure that's what, it's the legal person.
I guarantee that this statute does not conflict with Florida state statute. And I can guarantee you that if a 14-year-old who does not have a driver's license, or a 15-year-old, or a 16-year-old, or anyone without a driver's license drives a golf cart on the designated roads, that is impermissible under our ordinance.
Okay.
All right.
So as y'all pass or not pass this, I just want to go back and make sure very clear that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done on behalf of the city in order to make this where they can drive golf carts on the city.
Right.
So I want to make sure tomorrow we don't. The message is that tomorrow you can, yes sir, you can be out there driving all you want.
It's already happened in Councilor Robinson's neighborhood. We don't need a law.
I think it's happening in ours too, so.
I drove past the baseball field the other day, a bunch of kids driving, so I mean, they're driving.
Yep.
Little kids, of course, I called, I text someone on the police department. An hour and a half later, it said, well, maybe we should patrol.
Mr. Nichols.
There is a very fine line between the definition of a golf cart and a low-speed vehicle. and they look exactly the same. You could look at a golf cart, and if it has the windshield, the headlights, the turn signals, the brakes, everything that a car has, but a golf cart is less than 20 miles an hour. A low-speed vehicle can go to 25. Those are legal on the road. There's nothing you can do to stop that. That can happen.
Absolutely.
And that can be happening today. So you might be seeing golf carts that are technically low-speed vehicles.
Yeah.
There's not much of a cost difference either between them. So there is one level up. Yeah, but they're licensed, they're insured, they're registered. There's a little bit more for that 5 mile an hour difference.
Do they have tags?
Yes.
Okay, so they don't have a tag, we know it's not one.
Yeah, so, but it's a fine line, and those vehicles, there's nothing we can do to stop those. That's.
I know if they have a tag and they've got all the safety equipment, I could think so. All right, so is everybody okay with that so far? Can we move to a different area? Anybody else got any questions? That was just my question that I had. Let me talk to these guys first, just a second. Let's see what else they got.
I'm still not happy with this underage.
It drives me crazy. I know we're gonna hear it over there.
It was promised to us that
You very rarely get legal guarantees. I have pored over this ordinance and over all of the relevant statutes, and I promise you, we are in compliance.
Okay. Anybody else have comments down here? Okay, Mr. Fuller, help yourself.
I guess my concern is insurance and visibility. In terms of is there any way that golf cart should some way be visible to a licensed driver driving a regular vehicle? And then there's this insurance issue and the fact that if that golf cart is not insured, then this whole idea of no fault or whatever doesn't come into play at all. And if that person hits another person on the roadway, like a pedestrian, then where's the liability? Where's the concern? How do we control that?
When we get to the next ordinance, it's in there.
Okay.
The next ordinance has to do with parking, and they inspect the carts and check for certain things, including the driver's license.
And insurance?
In the ordinance, it says equipment requirements. Golf carts must be equipped with efficient braking, reliable steering, apparatus, tires, safe tires, a rearview mirror, red reflective warning devices, and in both the front and rear.
And that's in the daytime. At night, it becomes different.
And at night, it says between the hours of sunset and sunrise. So they won't be out.
Have to have lights.
They won't be out at night.
All that.
They won't be out at night, according to this, right, Walt?
Yes, that's correct. If they're, past sunset, headlights, brake lights, turn signals, and a windshield are a requirement. That's state law. And we can't change those.
They won't let us do that in the daytime too. That's only at night.
So the insurance question is still out there.
The insurance question, you can ride a motorcycle down the road at 100 miles an hour. You don't have to have insurance. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's
true. That doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That's this case.
It does matter.
With golf carts. Well, it matters to people who may get hit, but.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing you're bringing with the golf carts.
Yes.
It applies to people who may get hit. Well, you can get hit by a
Motorcycle
motorcycle.
insurance is not mandatory.
And
Golf
motorcycle insurance is not mandatory.
And if I can add, again, the statute is real clear. The only restrictions we could add to the state law is
the driver's license
on unlicensed drivers.
That's it.
That is it.
And we're not reinventing the wheel. I mean, this is being done in every city in the circle around us, and been for a while. So it's not like we're the first ones breaking through the ice saying, let's be the experiment.
And the state won't let us do it any different.
So, I mean, like I said, we're not reinventing anything. This is.
Yeah, so you either don't do it, or you do it the way the state tells you you can do it. That's what it amounts to.
Yep.
So that's
My
our
tendency
choice.
toward don't do it. but-
Yeah, those are our choices right there.
But
You're
the
exactly
point
right.
is that we're adding additional danger on the streets with those golf carts and who's going to inspect them.
We'll get there.
There's
That's in the next ordinance.
there's vehicles traveling up and down these roads every day that don't have insurance.
Okay.
Every day. So, I mean, the liability of somebody not having insurance is already there. So, go from there.
Okay, so this is the first reading of ordinance 2023-709. Do we have any further discussion from anyone? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of first reading.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2023-709.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. I have a motion and a
I'm
second.
protest, but I'll second.
She hasn't voted for it yet. She just made a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion from anyone?
I say there's still too many pros and cons, and I cannot vote for it.
Okay.
That's my.
Okay. I understood. Anybody else? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Okay. I gotta hear the other two.
That one's not here.
Well, you and I didn't voice out either. I only heard these two.
Man,
I'm gonna vote aye.
I'm gonna go nay.
So now we have a tie. So I guess we're going to table it until Mr. Cox is here at a later date. So we have time to reconsider or find out a little more. So should we discuss the next section so people are aware of it, or should we stop right here? Y'all tell me what to do.
I say discuss it, people need to know, might as well get it out.
Okay, so maybe-
If like Kirsten said that the next part is more detailed, as she said, that might.
It may help people
might
understand.
clarify a lot.
All right, so even though we're not going to vote on first reading of ordinance 2023-701, which is the golf cart parking permit, we're going to discuss it. So there's no need to vote on it unless you decide that you want to back up on it. But right now, I'm going to let them explain it to us.
Okay, we'll read the title for formality. This is an ordinance of the City of Williston, Florida, establishing a golf cart parking permit program in accordance with applicable Florida law, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date. So, I'll sort of pass it over to Walt for the highlights, but you can be assured in the same way with the previous ordinance that I have scoured state law, and this is in compliance with state law in all parts.
Thank you. So when we realized with the golf cart ordinance that we couldn't impose other restrictions to operate a golf cart, we did come up with the avenue that if you wanted to park them on any city street, right away, parking, municipal parking lot, there under parking regulations, you could impose requirements. And so that we found that as a way that you could impose a parking permit. There would be a fee involved. They would have to have the golf cart inspected and reviewed by your police department. So now we have a level of oversight, some control over the golf carts, make sure they're operating safely. And so that was the reason for this ordinance. So we figured, okay, that is totally under your control and you could do that. And it gives you an opportunity for education. They meet at the police department. There could be, a learning opportunity and education opportunity about safety and operating them. And so that is where, okay, these are the restrictions we can apply and how you park it, where you park it. is really what this ordinance is about.
And I assume this is where you would give them the map and tell them where they can drive and where
Yes.
they can't drive.
Yes, and all that, and it gives you a chance to inspect the golf cart. You couldn't do it under the golf cart regulation, but if you wanna park it, you could, if you wanna go from your house to a private, to the grocery store, that doesn't apply, you don't have control over that parking lot, but any other place that you would park, city streets, city parking, city property, you have that control. So that was the premise for this ordinance, and we thought that gives you additional level of safety, control, peace of mind that you can impose on the golf carts.
Okay, and you see the requirements there as well as the restrictions that are listed, I think on page they start on page, I think 30, maybe 31. It tells you where to park, how to park, the fact that it has to be, you have to inspect it at the police department. It tells you there can be 4 people permitted per golf cart. All of them have to be licensed drivers. If you're driving a cart and it has a permit, but you're not one of those 4 people, you're still in violation. So you can't just loan your cart to somebody. You have to be permitted to the cart. That means your driver's license has been checked. You know, you're a valid driver, that sort of thing. So that's good. It's done every year. It tells you where to put it, you know, and how, and that, again, on page 32, that a maximum of 4 operators are allowed per golf cart. And all 4 of the drivers have to live in the same household. So if you only have 2 people in your household, you can only put 2 people on the golf cart permit.
On the permit of the operator.
Right, on the permit.
You can have 1 licensed permitted driver and passenger.
How does he do it on the automobile?
Well, when they present their driver's license, it should have an address on it.
Well, you gotta go on your insurance or license.
It's on your driver's license, and if they don't all have the same driver's license, they don't live in the same household. You know what I'm saying?
Seems like we put the
Say
car
it again, so I can understand. If they all don't have the same driver's
The
license?
same address
Address.
on their driver's
Okay.
license.
So it's like me, my wife, my son, and my daughter, who are 16 and 18, could all 4
Yes.
be qualified to drive that golf cart. They're all 4 licensed drivers,
Yep.
all live in the same address.
But my daughter, who lives down the street, could not be because she lives in a different
She'd have to
household.
get her own.
ride with you?
She could ride.
She could ride with me, but she can't drive it.
Okay.
Right.
And it's a way to bring in funds to the city and to the police department by doing this. There's a fee, so it's also to help cover for the signage
Pays
and
the
things
signage.
like that.
Exactly.
I want to clarify really quick on the point that we just made, that someone who's not in your household can drive a golf cart if they're not permitted, if they don't have a permit to park. They simply can't park the golf cart on public property. So, just a little side
Very
note.
true. Very true. Very big true.
So they can drive it, but don't park it.
They can drive it, but you can't park it. Not there anyway.
Again, the parking restrictions are only on city properties, so city streets
Right.
and city parking.
So may I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you park a car on city property without this, but you can't park a golf cart? Is that what we're doing here? Yes.
That is
That
correct.
is what we're doing, right?
You got
It's
it.
okay to park your car on city property, but if you park a golf cart, you have to step through all this other. Thank you for that clarification.
Well, it proves you have a license. And your car, hopefully you do, or you wouldn't be driving it. You wouldn't have a tag, wouldn't have insurance.
It's like the Goethe State Forest. A hunter has to buy a permit to hunt there, but a trail rider does not have to buy a permit to ride his horse up and down the trails of Goethe. They can do it for free, but somebody that wants to hunt in Goethe has to purchase a state permit to hunt in Goethe. Same land. Just throwing that out there.
Mr. Cole.
it appears to me that this ordinance does nothing. Most people, if they're gonna park, are going to park at one of the off-street, city street
Private
parking areas. And the greater concern is for the joyriders who will never park, but just riding up and down streets. And that would address the major concern that I would have. And so when we're talking about just the opportunity to park, I'm gonna pay for the opportunity to park on a city street. No, there are too many other places that are non-city street parking areas, and you're just diverting them, probably causing Winn-Dixie a bigger headache, probably causing the other stores or whatever a bigger headache.
They'll have to have golf cart parking too.
Nobody can get to Winn-Dixie.
Yeah, they can't get to Winn-Dixie, they can't go from quarter to quarter.
Well, there's still other places, other private places
Hitchcock's
to park or whatever. For instance, Hitchcock's or those kinds of places. But all you're doing is steering them away from parking on city streets. And I doubt if anyone's going to pay for a permit just to park their golf cart on the city streets. But they will drive on city streets, and that's the concern.
Thank you. Chief Ross.
Well, just like Councilman Zank said, we're not creating a wheel. I was in Cedar Key this weekend. They all have parking permits. Every one of them have parking permits. I mean, so we're not creating the wheel here. This is not something new that we're doing if we go forward with it. But they have parking permits down there. You have to take certain steps in order to drive your golf cart and park it somewhere. If not, they write you a ticket. Just that simple. This is not complicated, but I mean, it's whatever y'all decide y'all want to do.
Now, another thing is people riding around is a good thing. Riding neighborhoods and stuff like that's going to help keep crime down, all kinds of stuff. I mean, a quiet golf cart easing by could definitely help keep people from breaking into cars and being places they shouldn't be when more people are out and about. I think it's a good thing.
Okay, any other discussion on this ordinance before we move? Because we're not voting tonight. Any other questions? Okay.
One question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Johnson.
So if you got clarity on this one, even though you can't vote, and Ms. Marguerite, would that give you enough confidence to go back and vote on the other one? Because it was just a tie. And y'all break the tie and move on. And then we can discuss this next one later. You know, we can't vote on it anyway. Just saying.
Just saying.
Yeah.
There were 2 votes for aye
I
and 2
could
for nay,
change my
and
mind.
nay's not a vote.
Well, I didn't know because you wanted more clarity.
I did. That's my
So
whole
it
problem.
passed already.
If I hear you right, it's the insurance issue.
The insurance.
That's what seems to be bothering her the most, the fact that they're not required to have insurance.
Neither is a kid riding a bike down the road that could slam into your car in the parking lot. He won't have insurance on his bicycle either.
Yeah, bicycles, motorcycles, moped, tractors, yeah. Mr. Barber.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but insurance in Florida, it's what your insurance is that you make a claim on, correct? I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're in a car, you're in a golf cart, you're in a motorcycle, I mean, it doesn't matter.
It starts with yours.
If I have a claim, I have to go with my insurance
It starts
company.
with yours, but if something big, you can go to the other one too.
Right, and I understand that, but generically, you go after your own insurance.
Yeah.
So doesn't that answer the insurance question if?
Not if they hit somebody else.
Exactly.
Or run over somebody, as Mr. Fuller said.
But your insurance covers that.
Not if you don't have any.
Not if you don't have it.
So then you don't have insurance. But then
But
that's
it
not gonna
doesn't help
solve
them
the
if
problem
you
of
ran
the
them
other
over.
person having it.
They'll just sue you personally is what they'll do.
Right.
Well, I think the chief's right. People are riding up down the road all day long with no insurance, whether it's a law or whether it's not. They don't care.
That's true.
Or they haven't got the money.
They haven't got caught yet.
So,
That's
what
exactly
difference
right.
does it make if it's a semi-truck, a car, or a golf cart? If they don't have insurance, they don't have it.
Right.
There you go.
Very true.
So I don't think that ought to be a real issue in
A kicker.
there. That's another penalty.
Like I said, it goes back to the bicycle in the parking lot. You can be parked in Hitchcock's and somebody ride a bike into the side of your car. And, the bike don't have insurance.
Get your collision out.
Ms. Jones?
I just wanted to clarify something if somebody watches the recording. Did somebody say that the private parking lots will need to add golf cart parking?
Just because they'll need it.
If they want.
Not that we require them to.
Yeah, if they want to. They don't
Okay,
have
so
to.
they don't have to, but
No,
they can if
it's
they
not
want
required, but they're gonna need it.
Golf cart can park in a place where a car can park.
Yes.
to. Okay. Thank you.
Once you illegally cross 27 district.
Oh, yeah, the whole RV park can go to Hitchcock.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Familiar might can find a way.
Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion before we move? Tricia, if you'll put both of those on our agenda for next time, so Mr. Cox will be here. to help us with it.
And I can do more thinking about it.
Yeah, there you go.
If the call was done an hour and a half earlier. Huh? I'll make it
Okay. We're to item E, which is resolution 2023-13, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the grant of a utility easement to Central Florida Electric Co-op on property located at the Williston Municipal Airport with a legal description as outlined in the attached easement documentation, authorizing the City Council President to execute the easement documentation and providing an effective date. Ms. Jones.
Thank you. This location is out at the airport. The business is already up and running. We had to get an easement from Central Florida Electric to run their electric to this business. This happened late last year. We just kind of got around to getting the ordinance to, or the resolution to you guys for approval. So it's just a legal document that's already been approved by them and already been approved by our attorneys.
So help me locate it. It's down Airport Road, hang a left,
It's DNN Equine?
hang a right. Okay,
Mhm.
hang a right and then it's on the left.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And the whole reason, Madam President, the whole reason the easement was put there is because the other side of the road where DNN is located, there was nothing there. It was previously undeveloped. There were no easements, no anything. So just on the other side of the road down past Signman Signs. So if you go to the end of Signman Signs Road, take a left, then on the other side of that road is where DNN is. So that's why we needed the new easement for DNN.
Okay, gotcha. And they're already there.
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
just making it legal.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-13.
I have a motion and second. Do we have any further discussion from anyone? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Item F is resolution 2023-14, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, establishing authorization for the City of Williston Council President to authorize the purchase of gas supplies. I'm not gonna do it myself. The purchase of gas supplies from DevTech Sales, Inc., and providing an effective date. Mr. Barber.
Sure. Between the low level of normal stock supplies and current development needs, natural gas parts and supplies are needed to complete tasks for the department. Staff is asking council to allow us to not only grow the inventory, but to meet demand for essential projects, for example, the Country Lane Estates project development, and mitigating other risk management for emergency preparedness. So we have 3 invoices that are totaling right around $55,000. For the sake of our city attorney, we are notifying that we did not go out on bid because these are sole source.
I looked at that.
All right, good. And if you look at the 3 attached, they talk about regulators, they talk about your valve lock wings, and the final one has a couple of different things like your different types of meters. For example, we have no commercial meters, so if I have a commercial account go down right now, I don't have a meter to replace it. These orders are, if you notice on there, 60 weeks out, 40 to 50 weeks out. Some of them have 2024 ship dates provided by Honeywell. So we're just trying to get ahead of the curve and make sure that we don't have an interruption of service and that we're meeting our obligations as a natural gas provider. If you have any questions at the time, I'd be glad to answer them.
My question is the same as always. Where's the $55,000 coming from?
Well, this would be inventory, so this would just be clearly out of our normal budget line item and budgetary needs. As far as those that are outside of the budget, which, for example, would be Country Lane Estates, you already authorized those funds in the amount of $286,000. That was done last year. We have not spent all of that money. Some of that money actually is going to come in a little bit under budget because of some of the work that the city's doing. And so we would use some of those funds which were already approved. And then the final contingent of that would be there would be some capital that would be utilized, but it would be a very small amount, under 10K. And of course,
and another year's budget also.
And another year's budget, because of course this stuff will not even come in until next year.
Right, or the year after.
Well, fiscally it could be coming in, the 2023-2024 budget.
Exactly. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Barber? I think we all see the usefulness of it with all the development that we've got going. If we don't have gas equipment to build the service, we can't build it. I'll entertain a motion for the resolution. 14, yes.
I move that we approve resolution 2023-14.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from anyone? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item G is resolution 2023-15, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, establishing an authorization for the City of Williston Council President to authorize the acceptance of grant funds from Connect Humanity and provide an effective date. Mr. Mills, Mr. Barber.
All right, so Connect Humanity is an organization that many of the members were actually part of Truist Bank. If you remember our original CalLink grant, I think, which totaled almost $180,000 when it was all said and done.
132.
132, I apologize. Came in a couple different payouts. So that $132,000 came from that board. Many of those board members left and became part of Connect Humanity. Connect Humanity's goal is to look at rural communities that are underserved on internet provision, high-speed internet provision, and to help local municipalities, small towns figure out how to make it cost-effective to come up with a plan to integrate that, whether it be through grant funding or through revenue. So what this particular $20,000, and there will be more that you'll see, I think it's a total this round of 70-some thousand. This $20,000 in particular, they're willing to pay the city to take city employees and go out and gather the information that would be required to put together a shovel-ready plan with our engineers as to what would be the fixed cost of having installed for us a high-speed internet fiber system. So this is basically the first step that we wouldn't have to pay for. As a matter of fact, they would pay us to gather the information. This accomplishes many goals, not just internet, but it also provides a way for us to do an inventory and an audit of our power pole system. Because if we did fiber, one of the advantages that we have over many communities is that we own the power system, so there wouldn't be a connect fee. Most communities would have to figure out where they'd have to put the system, and they'd have to pay the power provider to run that system on the lines to get to each home throughout the neighborhoods that they provide utilities for. So we already own that system, and it's an age system, as we've talked about before. So we would take this amount and not only gather the information and the intel to know what it would cost to go after grant money to put in a high-speed fiber internet system for our citizens, but it would also give us a real clear audit of where our poles were. And then the third thing that it would do is, we've recently, Terry and a lot of research has come across that we may have a lot of illegal connections on our power poles. Things that haven't been monitored. Funds that we could go after actually to increase revenue. Like did CenturyLink, did Lumen, did AT&T, did somebody, in the middle of the day without notifying us decide we're going to connect something to the power pole here at Williston, and we were never notified, and there is an actual set charge that that's supposed to be, and we could be losing a lot of revenue. So we looked at this money as just a great opportunity to not only deal with two particular issues that we already needed to come up with resources to figure out, it also solves the issue of being able to present to council whether or not high-speed internet is doable and at what cost and what it would look like for the city if we pursued that in the future.
Who's gonna police that now?
Who's going to police what, sir?
The illegal or improper installation other companies on our poles.
Madam President, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
So what we found, like I said, Mr. Ross, when we find these things, there's a couple options you have. One, which I don't recommend, is that some power company provider simply suggests you cut it off, throw it away. That's obviously not one of the suggestions that we're recommending, because we wouldn't want to do that.
We want money.
Sir?
We want some money.
Yeah, we want
we want some money. So there's an attachment fee that they're required to pay us when they utilize our power poles. And we'll be able to determine who these people are, because it simply happens on the weekends when we're not around, or at nighttime they come in and hook up stuff, and there are several examples I could cite that I really don't want to think of the time to do it, but we've learned of. So we'll be able to police that once this assessment is done. What this will also do is will give us a engineered broadband fiber to home design internet service that we can then use that to apply for grants. Right now, we simply are behind the curve, even in grant application, because we can't even present an engineered design of what that system would look like. We don't know that once that system is designed and up and running, that will be beneficial in standing up another utilities. So this is just one step in the right direction, and it doesn't mean we're going to come back to y'all and go, hey, we think the city of Williston should be in the broadband fiber to home internet business. We may find out it may be easier to have another vendor come in, provide us with some resources. I can tell you, after visiting some local communities, the city of Ocala charges the city of Ocala electricity for their fiber internet service. The city of Ocala utility charges the city of Ocala internet service $7 a pole to hang internet on. So there is some money to be made out there, and we just got to figure out what is the best way for us to make it. I don't know that it will be for us to be in the broadband fiber industry, but at least we'll have a step in the right direction.
And those are kind of my questions, is if we do this and we do the analysis and we get all the information, what if we decide to go with somebody else?
Nothing.
Is that still okay?
No, absolutely. As a matter of fact, just because we go with another partner doesn't mean that that partner won't insist that the city have some sort of buy-in. Okay, for example, if let's say Central Florida comes in and has a plan that council likes, they can't hang it on a pole that's not upgraded to meet the demand of that new connection, right?
Right.
So if a pole's from 1972 and they say, well, we'll do fiber and we agree upon a contract, we're required to do updating on our end. We can still go after grant money for that if it's related to the upgrades for fiber. But we can't apply for those grants. We can't go after that funding if we don't have these studies done. And you, as many of you know, having done grants in the past, they look for shovel ready.
Yeah.
What is it going to be? How fast could it be done? And what is the reasonable outcome? So that's a way of getting here and being compensated in the process. And as I mentioned, it solves two other problems that we would have had to come up with funding and resources for as well.
And my next question is, do we have the manpower to do it?
We simply, in this proposal with them, agreed to 2 people over a 3-month period of time, rotating through our staff, and we absolutely, Public Works feels that would not be a burden. We have currently right now 2 meter readers we utilize primarily to gather most of this information, since they're already familiar with and they even have some experience working with Florida Rural Water on GIS. So we don't feel like it would be overburdening the system. Matter of fact, as far as our overtime budget, we're kind of looking forward to it.
Okay, so you do have people.
Because it would
I was
reimburse
afraid
us
we
some
might
of
not.
that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody else?
So I think you mentioned it, but I just wanted to hear it. So after the study is done, though, does that tie it? I heard the obligations and all that, but I was a little bit confused. So, but then we're not basically stepping in a direction to say, okay, we've got to spend a whole pile of money to get all this right, or then you're saying that the grants will then help us do that by doing the study?
So council can move in different directions. The first step, kind of like the golf cart stuff, is we have to gather the intel and the information and the data. That's what this step is. This $20,000 is particularly to our staff to go out and do the field services of that analysis. There is another 50-some thousand that Connect Humanity has promised for the administrative end, for the compiling of that information through engineers to give us a work product like we often receive from our own engineers, Wright Pierce, on a project of from step A to step Z, this is what the cost would be, this is how long it would take, this is the job as a shovel-ready job.
And that company is called Lit Communities. So
Yes.
they would be the one who would be designing or engineering our broadband
Oh,
system. Lit Communities.
LIT.
Then to answer your question, the next step on that would then be council would decide how they'd want staff to progress. Do you want us to file for grants? There's a lot of federal money out there. Would you like us to get into the broadband business through fiber? Remember, we already are in it through wireless. But would you want us to continue through it in fiber? Or would you like us to look for some partners? So that would, or just not get into the business at all. So those are options that council would have, but you can't really know which direction to go until some of this data is compiled.
And go with an attachment.
We can get to that for free, basically.
We can do all that for free at no cost.
And these terms and agreements don't tie us to anybody particular once we get past that.
No, ma'am.
That's what I wanted to know.
No, as a matter of fact, it's very generously written on our behalf.
Good.
Very, very one-sided towards us.
Terrific. All right, any other discussion? If not, we'll entertain a motion for resolution 2023-15.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 2023-15.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion from anyone? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move to item H. All right, y'all put up with me. Resolution 2023-16, a resolution of the City Council of Williston, Florida, approving the quitclaim deed and bill of sale between Williston Community Animal Shelter and the City of Williston regarding property at the airport with legal description as outlined in the attached quitclaim deed. Accepting from Williston Community Animal Shelter, Inc., the rights and responsibilities associated with the Williston Community Animal Shelter. Authorizing the City Council President to execute a formal termination of lease and any other such documents required to effectuate such acceptance of rights and responsibilities. Authorizing the City Council President to execute quitclaim deed and the bill of sale and any other documents required to effectuate such transfer, and providing for an effective date. City Manager Brevard and Attorney Ballou.
Thank you. I'll let her also talk about this one, but Benton brought up an ideal of, instead of terminating the lease, would it be easier to reassign it like we've done before, or do we definitely want to terminate the lease and start over?
My opinion on that is a termination of lease would be more appropriate. I don't think that we should lease our property back to ourselves. I would say that terminating the lease, therefore the property is no longer leased to an outside entity and is run by us. Now, we may want to, in the future, lease it to the city depending on the city proper rather than how it's held now at the airport. The valid concern that was brought up in our negotiations is that, or in our discussions, is that there needs to be a certainty on the part of Williston Community Animal Shelter Incorporated that they no longer have any responsibilities regarding this property, regarding this lease or anything. So I think it would be cleaner to terminate the lease if we decide that based on how we're going to internally run, that a separate lease is required in order to do that. I think that that would be appropriate at that time.
I mostly agree with what you said, except for one part, and we won't even talk about that till we get there. Okay, so everybody agree with terminating this lease and taking possession of the Williston Community Animal Shelter?
Update?
Yes, sir. It's time. I understand that we were waiting for a certificate of occupancy, and that is, we have received a temporary certificate of occupancy, waiting on the electric at this time. Is that properly stated?
Yes.
That's the way I understood it, let's put it that way. So I think this is the time.
So from my understanding, from the beginning, this was meant to be handed over to us anyway.
Yes.
This was all before I was on board. So I mean, I don't think nothing's changing, correct? It's just
That's right.
Go ahead and accept it.
Right. I would love a motion for resolution 2023-16.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-16.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We have any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay.
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
So, good day for the animal shelter.
Yes.
So, this has been a long time coming. I didn't want it to go without any fanfare. You know, the Williston Community Animal Shelter board members that are here have done an excellent job of helping build this community center or animal shelter. The only thing I'd like to do, reserve the right to do a ceremonial opening of it when we're ready and we have full power.
With them?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep,
with them.
I agree.
And so if I could have the authority to set that up and do that in the future, I think this is a great day for us.
On that subject, you said we have full power there.
As long as the generators run.
We do, as long, but no electricity.
How about gas?
I don't think we need gas.
It runs out there. We could get it if we needed it, but right now I don't think we have it.
There's no gas at this time.
Right. Yeah.
No gas.
But it does go to the park if we had to have it. I think it's beautiful. I think the main thing I'm concerned about is furnishing it. So we're going to have to do some fundraising of some kind to actually furnish the building.
Well, I do, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir.
There is a fundraiser at Homestead Park for the community animal shelter. It's a puppy wash. We can use volunteers and we can use customers. That will be on what date? I'm looking at the treasurer.
March 12th.
Okay, I'm looking at the president. It is when?
March 12th.
March the 12th. If the city would like to help raise funds for their animal shelter, thank you, Lord, that would be a wonderful opportunity.
You can, come on to the podium. I think you're their current president, is that right? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Renee Nipper. I am the president of the Williston Community Animal Shelter. We still have some money left, and we also have a couple more meetings. Probably it's going to take at least one or two. I know one, but probably two, to get us closed out. So we're going to allocate some of that money for what you're concerned about.
Are you
buying a
going?
refrigerator, and once I get the board to vote.
Are you going to close out, or are you going to stay as a
We're
nonprofit?
going to make a change on what our goal
What
is.
your mission
We need
is.
to discuss that with the board.
Right, okay. I was hoping you wouldn't completely do away with your nonprofit. Okay. I know I talked briefly with the mayor about this, probably 2 weeks ago maybe, that if we knew what your vision was as to what you wanted each room to look like, we don't know what you want each room to be. Somebody does, I'm sure. We don't know what you need for each room. I mean, do you need exam tables? Do you need I saw pictures of wash stations that you already have. It looks like wash stations to me. Do you need, we don't know what you need. Trash cans, I mean, the basics. Whatever it takes. If people wanted to donate to furnish a room or to furnish a partial room, we sort of need to know what the cost of furnishing that particular room might be. Then we might can help raise some money to make it what you vision it to be.
Madam President, if I may.
Where? Laura? Yes, I couldn't hear the voice.
Wade and I will get with Renee and the other board members to see what their vision is, and then we'll give an inventory of what we need. We'd rather people didn't just drop things off. If they'd like to donate money, because a lot of times these rescues will get overwhelmed with things that they can't use.
Well,
Then
that's
you have
what
to
I
have a
mean.
yard
But
sale.
if you tell me that you need $2,500 to furnish that room, maybe someone would give $2,500.
And that would be brilliant. So
And
we'll
if
get
you-
that to
yeah.
you by, next meeting, we could have that list for you.
That would be wonderful, because
Yeah.
we don't know what your board wants it to be. We know what we're gonna make it, I guess, we're gonna get a hold of it, and I know Wayne's gonna be there still.
By next meeting, we still will not have electricity, so there's no.
Technically, we will.
We need to furnish it before we have electricity, so we're ready to go when we get it. You know, we don't need an empty building, when we're ready to go, we need a building that's got stuff in it, that's ready for the animals.
Power off of that other pole.
Hey, there you go, we can attach our own attachment. Good idea, Mr.
How
Ball.
long as illegal hookups are involved?
Seems to be. Chief Rolls.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How many doggy stalls are there?
Those are cat stalls.
Cat stalls, doggy stalls.
Those are not cats.
They're not cats? Okay, sorry.
Those are dog, and they're
Kennels.
chief, there
Shows you what I read.
are 16 of them.
There's 16
This times
kennels.
4.
Okay, so I have an idea, and I'll be the first one to do it. You put a sticker with my name on it on one of those doors, and I'll give you $200.
I thought we were gonna lock you in.
We had already talked about that, but I can't make that decision.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
We can have a board meeting, and
And it
they
may,
can decide.
it may need to be more than $200. To put your little brass
It would
plate.
be possible to get 300.
He said a sticker, you can rip
How
that
about-
sucker off.
How about 5? You put my little brass plate up there, I'll give you 5.
Only for two.
Wait a minute, is 5 for how long?
Well, it's just furnishing
For the
it.
same amount of time I
Yeah,
have
it's a
here.
sticker, they can
it
rip that
stays
sucker
there.
off.
Yeah, right? A brass tag on the door for $500 for how long?
Forever. As long as the
Forever.
door's there.
Forever.
Yes,
Nothing
sir.
is forever, chief.
No, this
Well,
is,
as
this
long
is
as-
off topic, but you can, I mean, it's not off topic, it's with it, but the baseball program, for an example, we do the banners. It's a $250 a year, we put your banner back up, and that definitely could be something that you can do, and you get the first option to
Next year it's
re-up,
100.
and if you choose not to, then somebody else steps in. Maybe the first year to get the plate made, you would maybe charge $300, and then it would be like a $250 renewal fee, basically, if you wanted to keep that door as your name.
That's what I'm talking about too. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Miss Deborah,
Yes, sir.
250?
250.
Yeah.
Only if it's yearly.
That's
Yearly.
500 if it's there forever.
250 yearly, 500 forever?
Yeah, well, it's up to them, but yeah, I'm ready if you are.
Madam President, so for
See,
record,
that's how you get it furnished, but we need to know what y'all need.
Miss Deborah.
I heard that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for the record, I have Chief Rose donated $500. Councilmember Bullock donated $200.
That's what I.
That's what I have for the record.
Wait a minute. I think the record skipped for a minute there.
You know, you gotta go with the record, chief.
Or if you have a wish list of items, let's say, for example, that refrigerator that's $1,500. Or however, $800, whatever it is. Let us know what the wish list is and how much it costs. I mean, you never know, people will give money. That's exactly what we need to know. Okay, anything else on this subject? Did we vote? I think we did. Did we vote, Latricia? Thank you. All right, so, I got so carried away I forgot. All right, so now we're down to I. A resolution 2023-17, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, to approve a renewal and lease term extension with the Levy County School Board for property at the airport identified as Williston High School FFA Land Lab, authorizing the City Council President to execute the land lease agreement and providing an effective date. Mr. Stiegel.
Yes, ma'am. So Kirsten and I have had a conversation about the what this actually looks like for the city of Williston, and this particular document that you guys are reading over being a placeholder and her getting it done. It is the intent of the airport to renew this land lease. I do, just for the sake of full disclosure, this land lease originated in 1983. And with us extending it out for another 10 years would put it at a 50-year cap. And knowing what we know now with federal regulations, that would be the extent of this particular land lease. However, the way we have done, the animal shelter lease and a couple other leases at the airport, I see no issue with continuing the land lease for the land lab in the same way that we have, just with an updated lease format. So, the land lease, or the land lab itself has been, you can't even really calculate how much of an impact it's had on this community.
Right.
We've had, generations and generations trained out of that land lab that's directly impacted our community year after year after year. So, I have absolutely no problem moving this forward and, continuing this land lease as long as I'm at the airport.
Okay. Mr. Cowart, you have anything to add? This is our school board superintendent, Cowart.
Madam Chair, I just want to say thank you to Ben and thank you to Mr. Terry for their efforts. So they work well with Mr. Lott. We echo what Mr. Benton said about the generational impact that has, and we appreciate what you extended to us and what it means to our kids and our staff.
Thank you. Appreciate you attending tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'm entertaining a motion for resolution 2023-17.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-17.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion from anyone? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, John.
Thank you all. Appreciate it very much.
Yes, sir. All right, item J. This is going to be a good one. Item J is discussion with possible action, new community center rental agreement. Have you had a chance to look at it? More chance than you had before. All right. I think we ought to flip through at least page by page. We don't have to read page by page, but if we flip page by page, people can say whether they have comment on that particular page or not. I think that'll actually be the fastest way to do it. Anybody disagree with that? All right, so not the cover sheet, but the next page, which is page 2 of the individual packet that Ms. Patricia gave us at the last meeting. Let me see what page it will really be. 73. I'll find it.
Page 73.
73, there we go. I have my little individual one she gave me last week. On that page 73, at the very bottom, anybody have anything on the top about the days of operation and that sort of thing? And we'll get more into that a little bit later. But in the group priorities, we have a group 1 who is pretty much us, with no fee, of course. If you look at it, it's us and anything that we are sponsoring and activities we have set up. Group 2 is essentially everybody else. I'm thinking we might need to do a group 3 and maybe throw our nonprofits and maybe our school in there. How do y'all feel about that?
Well, nonprofits in that group too, you wanna separate that out?
I sort of do. Right now,
I
I
think it
know
should
we,
be separate.
I think we give them a little bit, of more leeway because they're a nonprofit. Not to say that they don't have to go by the rules, but that we can give them a lesser amount, maybe a lesser fee or something of that sort because they're a nonprofit. So, does anybody feel okay about that? Adding a group 3 and calling it, or either making group 2 the nonprofit and group 3 everybody else. However you think that reads the best, Ms. Latricia. We'll leave that up to you. And then when you go to the definitions on the next page, I didn't really know why it said resident or non-resident until, of course, I read the whole thing. And it does give priority to people that are residents over people that are non-resident. So I can see showing the difference there, because right now we don't even ask them, you know, whether they're a resident or not of the city of Williston. Then it talks about the private group, who is any group without official nonprofit status, and it talks about a commercial group whose primary purpose is for profit venture, which means we just left out the nonprofits. So I think we need another definition as to what a nonprofit is, especially if we're going to separate them out a little bit. Now throw something at me if you're not in the same line of thinking with me.
If we're gonna separate them out in groups, it needs to be a definition.
I think so too. All right, does anybody have any question on page, what is that, 72, 74? Anybody else have any other comments? On the next page, which would be 75 in your packet, and page 4 if you've got the little packet that Latricia gave us. My only thought was, when written cancellation notice is received less than 30 days prior to the use date, you get no refund. I think maybe it should say 14 days, you get a 50% refund. Rather than just taking it all 30 days. 30 days is a long time. Sometimes people don't realize until the last minute. You may even want to say 7 days, 25%.
I'd give 7 days. Usually that's common.
I mean, if you say 14 days, 50% refund, and in 7 days, you only get 25% refund.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So 14 days, 50, 7, 25.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if it's outside those periods, they don't get anything. They don't get anything, as you have it written here. And then it gives the no refunds given for all those reasons. It gives the reasons. On the next page, which would be 76 or 5, depending on where you're going, under the hours of availability, earlier it talked about how the cities could, the city would really not let you use it until after 4 o'clock. Well, they would if it was a really good reason. But it had to be special approval by the city manager or the designee. So I don't know if the hours of availability need to say 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock through 11 o'clock. Do they need to say 4 o'clock? Of course, on Friday, it's any time after 4. But are we going to let them use it at 8 o'clock?
Well, some groups do.
Some groups do. I mean, I know you've got some business groups that don't make noise.
Right.
For example, we had a Zumba class in there that was in there at like 2 o'clock that we had Zumba beating all over the building. And you couldn't work for listening to the Zumba music.
The Zumba class, they came in at 4.
Yeah, well, now they're in at 4, only because you made them change. So for a while there, that whole side of the facility was listening to Zumba because they were coming in earlier than that. Now they don't come in before 4.
Right.
But yes, I see why you've left that now, so ignore me.
Tisha, I know she has her group come in at luncheons. Right.
All right, now we're to the hard part. We have closure dates. Up on the top of the next page, we have closure dates. And we talk about holidays over here and how they can have it for a holiday, but over here we're telling them they can't have it on a holiday. So I'm just saying one or the other. I don't care which. We're either closed for the holidays or it's available on the holidays. On the little graph thing, it told how much it cost for a holiday. Where was that? Probably a little later in the packet. Don't you?
Well, up there, just above it, it has holidays, 8 a.m. to 11.
Oh, there you go.
Just above it.
Yeah, so it's telling them when they can come on a holiday, but over here it's telling them they cannot come on any of those holidays. So we just need to decide which one. So how do y'all feel? Since City Hall is closed, you want to let them use it, or you don't want to let them use it? Mr. Barber.
I just want to mention on the holidays, we don't have all the holidays we actually have listed. I think the intention of that was there wasn't really a lot of support staff on days that we had off. But if you look, we're missing Good Friday, we're missing Memorial Day, we're missing, I believe, President's Day.
Memorial Day is there.
I'm sorry, Veterans Day is the one I think I meant.
So the big holidays.
Correct. We're missing some of them. So I just didn't know if you guys wanted to make sure that we blocked out the days that staff had off. I thought that was the
I mean, we
intention
let
of
them
this.
come in on Saturday and Sunday when we're not here.
But-
I don't know why we wouldn't.
Well, we have people on call, but I mean, I think in the holiday you're paying people what, double time and a half if they come in. So that's why I think that was the intention of the holiday blackout list.
Well, either way we decide to do it, we need to change it in one spot. Because over here it says they can come from 8 to 11.
Yeah.
On page 5, which is, I don't know what page up there. It says they can come from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and at New Year's they can stay till 1 a.m. So we just need to make them consistent. And I don't care which way we go.
We can go ahead and take it off.
Check it off.
Take it off.
Take it off.
Take it off. Okay.
Because I normally don't have anyone request for any holidays.
Okay.
Okay, so.
All right.
And as soon as I said that, somebody
Any
come up.
questions on cleaning or smoking till we get to the food service part? I know we had all kinds of conversations about that at our last meeting. It says no food preparation can take place on site. The kitchen is to be used as a warming kitchen and is intended for catering and reheating only and may not be used for the preparation of food. I think that is wonderful. However, it goes on to say they can use the refrigerator, the freezer, the microwave, the coffee pot, the dishwasher, and the counter space. What that counter space is fine. And what I'm used to at 2 facilities that I frequent often, and that would be a fellowship hall at my church and also the Women's Club. At the Women's Club, the cabinets where the handles are on the doors, we actually have a lock that goes through. That you can get in some cabinets, but you can't get in all the cabinets if you put the things you don't want to mess with in the area that are locked. And if they're looking for basics, they're in the other cabinets that they can find. We went back and forth about whether or not we should lock the whole kitchen or not. And it's got dishwasher in here, and the dishwasher's not even hooked up to water. So we definitely can't use the water in the dishwasher.
The dishwasher off of the new one.
It's here under food service, and it's over on the checklist where it says to make sure all the water is out of the dishwasher before you leave.
Oh, you had the old one or the new one?
Yeah, I'm looking at.
The new one was in the packet. I removed some language.
Okay, I don't
Word
know.
dishwasher.
All right, then roll it up and let me look at it. I have the one you gave me at the last meeting. If you've changed it since
Yes,
then,
ma'am.
I don't have it. I mean, I do in my packet, I guess, but I read this instead. All right, preparation, warming kitchen, reheating only. Okay, so you took the dishwasher off.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to let them use all those other things. the refrigerator, the freezer, the microwave, and the coffee pot.
It'd be a good idea to get locks on the cabinet.
Hi, Laura.
Staff was under the impression we were not gonna let them use those things.
That's what we talked about at our last meeting, but we never actually went.
So the problem with the refrigerator is if you tell them that they can use it, they're gonna be highly disappointed when there's no room in there because we shove it pretty full.
There's no room now.
And they will be upset, and then they'll take it out on Latricia.
No, because normally when someone asks or let me know beforehand, that's when I ask everyone to clean out the refrigerator.
That's not fair to us, though. I mean, I
Well,
guess
how
it
many,
is.
how many times have I asked that?
Never.
Okay.
But if we advertise it as such, I mean, I'm just saying for the staff, and the dishwasher, of course, can't be used. The cabinets, we would prefer not to lock them, but maybe if there's gonna be an event, we could just zip tie 'em and then.
Well, we would only lock them after 4 o'clock, or when somebody hadn't rented. You know. And two, it looks like they pay an extra $100 to use the kitchen, in the way it's written here, Mr. Barber.
Y'all during the hurricanes directed staff to make some upgrades.
Yes, we did.
Most of that stuff has been purchased. We've just been waiting to install it when locks went on the community room side. If you guys want the kitchen open, I would say that you really don't want to make some of those improvements. We're talking about you wanted to upgrade the range so that it could actually be used in emergency.
Yes.
When the dishwasher comes out, the whole countertops are all going to change.
Yes.
You wanted an island component put in.
Yes, we did.
All those surfaces are going to be treated butcher block countertops. If someone comes in there and doesn't know how to treat butcher block,
Put some hot down on
they're
it.
going to destroy it.
Yeah.
So it's just a caveat for, I mean, we're glad to do the work, but y'all are authorizing spending money on this stuff, and I just don't know how well that's going to be taken care of from people on the outside.
If we do lock the kitchen up, we need to put a counter or something with a microwave, something else.
No. What if somebody's having a birthday party? I mean, you wouldn't want all that, the covering off the cake and all that.
I think they would use the countertop. And I could say that at the Women's Club, we have 2 big rolling islands. Think about those 2 things. We roll them. We use one as a beverage area. We use another one to cut cake or whatever we need to do. At the church, we have a whole beverage area, and it is a built-in cabinet area that has the coffee pot, the tea maker. It has all the sugar, creamer. It just stays right there. And if you did have children, we could clear it, and they could put their beverages up there instead of that. But if we're going to lock the kitchen all together, I think we need a coffee pot and a microwave in the kitchen. I mean, in the community room.
Right.
So that they will have a microwave and they will have a coffee pot. But other than that, I don't really want them in our kitchen. We actually talked about the key codes, the locks that you have to use your key. We talked about actually putting them on the outside so that you could not get in the kitchen. Right now, they're on the inside doors so that you can't get in the hallway and the rest of City Hall. But we actually talked to the staff about moving them to the community room so that you couldn't get in the kitchen unless we turned it off that allowed you to do that. And if they paid the $100, you could do that. But we also talked about the need. We had this really low table that we were trying to cook food off of, and we needed the island. We needed more, there was almost no counter space. We were working off a table that was really low. So yes, and we talked about taking the dishwasher out and installing another range, so we had 2, so that we could actually cook 2 different things at one time.
Steam table in it, electric
So,
steam table, just pour it in, put pans.
I would rather lock the doors.
and make the improvements to the kitchen.
Yeah.
I would rather not.
You'd rather not?
Yes.
Even if we put a coffee pot and a microwave out in the room?
Yeah. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because, from my experience, if you have extra food, you have it back in the kitchen area, and then you just go back there and bring it out when it's needed, instead of having it all sitting out there, open
Yes.
and everything.
So if you have 3 trays, you only have 1 out.
Right.
And go back and get the second one when you need it. I can see that.
But the sink is in there, you can clean stuff up possibly, you
Yeah.
can do your own dishes before you leave.
I think it's better to lock the cabinets. And they're very simple locks. They're almost like a Velcro thing,
It's like a, and.
the ones we have at the
they
Lions
have a
Club.
combination on them.
And you wouldn't have to lock them until you weren't here.
And again, last year we only had maybe 3 people that reserved that. and
That
had
use the
food.
kitchen.
And you had food.
So what if there was some discussion last time about providing staff on the weekend and overtime at their rate, or whatever rate we determine, to be charged the person that needs that monitors that while it's there. My biggest concerns, and I know that my prior professional job that I have, security and the health and welfare of the staff are my biggest concerns. And just anybody having access to the food in the refrigerator, the ice machine, the coffee pot, all those things cause me some general concern, because my staff uses it, your staff, our staff. I mean, they're not mine, they're ours. They're us, yours.
And the things don't last as long when other people are using them.
They don't. So
Either.
if it's a sticking point, and I don't know if we can afford to have somebody here on the weekend, it's always an opportunity to make extra money.
So we have streets and parks, if someone wanted to build that into the rate and we fix that on a contract, $100 isn't gonna cover the kitchen if we add a person to it. But if they wanna compensate at our lowest rate, we could do a 4-hour event, we could do a 6-hour, an 8-hour, and we could give you the base rate of what an employee would be at time and a half. That would be up to
Not doing
council.
the lowest rate, it's gonna be whatever, it's gonna be.
A set
like
rate for
the
everybody.
PD don't charge the lowest rate. for
Well,
the-
I just mean we wouldn't put in a staff member that's a heavy equipment operator that makes 20.
No.
We would put in a regular maintenance worker that makes 15.
Well, it's also somebody who stands in the kitchen and is watching the event, so it's a flat rate of whoever it is. That's what I would say. I don't know. I'm looking at HR, that may not be kosher. You may not could charge 2 different rates if they're not doing the same job. I don't know.
It's whatever you would set in the contract, I would think. That's a separate.
A separate gig, yeah.
Yeah, just like you're hiring an off-duty police officer.
Come over there and maybe your time and a half by doing that. Over their hours.
That's what the money's on.
So $14.91 at time and a half for a 6-hour event would be $134.19.
Plus benefits.
Plus benefits. So if you go 25%,
But if you normally make $20.
you're looking at $167.74.
But you couldn't just put anybody.
I'm looking at my attorney is what I'm looking at.
My recommendation, based
Forget
on
that.
some issues that we've had in other cities regarding this general
Rate.
topic,
Yeah.
I would have it be the same rate that they are currently paid, and have it count toward overtime if it's over their hours, because the absolute last thing that you want is an FLSA claim
I do not.
that is quite expensive.
That's what I mean. It's hard to pay a dual rate.
Well, that's what I was trying to say, is if the guy makes $20 an hour, but our rate is 15, but he goes over his time and a half, then it's costing the city money. So it needs to be at his rate. But I think it needs to include time and a half, whether or not he's over time and a half, just in case he puts him over time and a half 3 days later.
I think we forget it. We forget it. We lock the door. Miss Jones.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. I just want you guys to just take a step back and remember this is a community room, not a community center. Hopefully someday I'll be able to supply a community center for Williston, but it isn't. You're not obligated to give them a kitchen to do all this stuff in. So if Donald can maybe retrofit like he was talking about last year, giving some more space, maybe even a sink, maybe that might be better than letting people into our kitchen.
You mean a sink outside in the community room?
Then you're gonna take away from the.
Yeah, I don't wanna do that.
total occupancy.
I don't really wanna sink in the
It's
community.
really not a community center, so I just wanted to remind you guys that, so either it's our
That's what
staff's
it was meant
kitchen,
for.
or it's a community center kitchen,
So you have,
but it can't be both.
so you have
It's a
rolling,
community room.
so you have rolling, catering stands.
It's actually whatever we say it is.
Yeah, you can do that. So it's either one or the other, so it's
Yeah.
either staff kitchen or it's a community kitchen. But it's just not working out to be both.
You can have a rolling catering stuff. We can hook up. You wouldn't have a permanent sink out there. You would just have a connection point. If we know an event's coming, you roll it out to the spot where the connection point is, and with a flex hose, you screw it in, and it's now connected to water. Okay, and then it has a holding tank.
And it's gonna leak in the middle of the weekend.
They do this all the time, all over with catering. You have the same thing we talked about, roll out for if you want a countertop. These things could be stored in the closet with the chairs and everything else when they're not being used, and they could be pulled back out to be utilized for a function. I mean, it's the same thing you guys are really talking about with the women's club, but it's a little bit more sophisticated than
I
that.
just thought with the water connection I'm okay with the rolling the countertop out.
And you don't have to do that. I mean, same thing with the microwave and the cups and the coffee maker could still be on something that's rolling.
That's true.
It doesn't have to be a permanent fixture.
Absolutely.
And then they can determine when they set up what closest plug that they use.
And I would say that the rolling thing is full of beautiful deep drawers, and you can put all kinds of things in it you think they might use. So that they don't have to go in the kitchen for because it's in the rolling thing. All right, so
I'm for locking the door, because when we went through and trying to cook, and you know that a knife is supposed to be there, and nobody could find a dang knife.
We've never had any.
Yes, you have.
No.
Yeah, we actually
bought knives.
Yes.
and you can't find them anywhere.
Or a spoon.
We have, because I've
No,
used them.
we've never, honestly.
All right,
we've
so I'm
never
gonna buy
had
you
it.
some,
Yeah.
but I want them to be there when I come back.
Okay,
Had to
you
go
all,
home and get her.
do you all want me to I'll leave the kitchen with knives and forks. I mean, there really has not been any, we've been bringing them from home and taking them back home. That's where those knives and forks have been coming from. Birdie used to bring her knives and forks from her house.
You mean the big ones that you
Yes,
serve? We
ma'am.
need serving utensils.
Yes,
But
we've never
We
had any.
used to, yes, we did.
I mean, it was our personal.
we'll buy some from Sam's.
Yeah.
There's
That's why I was
plenty at
asking if you
Sam's.
all
for
wanted
one.
to buy.
Let's go back to the kitchen.
Andy Wallace got a big supply of utensils.
Because part of that's what I have too. Yeah. So how do y'all feel about locking the kitchen?
I say lock it.
Y'all got me all twisted up, I'm for whatever.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Y'all worn me out.
I know we have. But that's what we have to discuss. We can't talk about it any other time. Y'all can go home if you want to. We'll just sit here and talk about it.
Did I hear go home?
You can if you want to, but this is the only place we can talk about it together.
Alright,
sticking it out.
About 3 people a year do use that kitchen since we
Yes,
built
and
this
it's
building.
church. One church use it twice and the other church use it once.
Alright,
That's
I
what
say
had
lock,
last-
put all
last
the
year.
cabinets in something important, lock the cabinets, and do it how we've been doing it. I don't wanna frame somebody that needs a refrigerator if they gotta put a cake in a refrigerator for a few minutes. And they need a sink. There's my say. Lock the cabinets.
Lock the cabinet and be done with it.
Lock the cabinets, give them access to everything else.
Should we try locking the cabinets and see if it works first before we do the other?
Yes, because, and so far this year, no one has applied.
I think it's step number 1 to lock the Mr.
If
Mills.
it don't work, we should.
I think it would be more convenient to lock the kitchen and give them access to the kitchen if they do need it, instead of having to lock all the
Yeah.
cabinets.
Yeah, I mean, the only time you would lock the cabinets is if they paid for use of the kitchen.
But
So
again,
can we lock the kitchen?
I think it's easier to lock the kitchen doors and grant them access when they
Okay,
need
so
it.
we can, that means rearranging locks.
That's not a
Lock the
problem.
kitchen,
Yes.
unlock if they.
Not a problem.
But if they rent the kitchen, then you lock the cabinets and you give them access to the kitchen.
Works for me.
So we're locking everybody else
That's
out.
kind of what I think we were saying, but we didn't say it very well. We just didn't say it very well, and you said it just right.
Lock the kitchen.
All right, everybody understand that? We're gonna move the locking mechanisms to the outside to lock the kitchen. We're gonna remodel the kitchen. And we're gonna only give access to those who need the kitchen. Who pay to use the kitchen. And we'll look into some locks for the cabinets. that we don't want people in. All right, so I think we can move from that page. Oh my
We'll have to
Lord.
lock both doors.
Yes.
Which I'm fine. We'll put a lock on both.
Right, inside and outside. Yes, so Mr. Mills can order 2 more locking mechanisms. I think they're on back order or something.
I think we can still get some.
Okay, good.
They're in limited quantities, but
I
we
got a
can
whole
get
bunch
them.
of them.
Like that?
We can't
Yeah.
use yours though.
Oh,
Okay.
Yours are yours. You,
All right. On the next page,
close the grant, then we use it.
if we're gonna lock the kitchen, I don't have any questions. If we weren't, I had things about the dishwasher and the coffee maker. But if we don't, I don't need to talk about that. Anybody else have anything on that page? On the next page, which says non-catered events at the top, but at the bottom it says advertising of event facility use. And it says event, meeting, program, advertising materials used at the community center shall be submitted for approval. I'm okay with that. It gets to one point where we tell people what they can and can't do. And I'm going to look at my attorney and my police chief both. On the next page, when it talks about general solicitation, sales, advertising, and we may need to, every place it says community center, I agree with these people in the back row back here, it needs to say community room instead of community center.
It does say community center.
Does it really? Well, I guess we're gonna leave it that way then. When it says no individual or group shall solicit donations or vend, offer for sale or dispose of any goods and merchandise.
I'm sorry, Ms. Deborah, what page are you on?
Top of 80.
Thank you. I'm gonna write 80 on here so I can keep up with you. But the next one says, no individual or group shall distribute, circulate, give away, or deposit any flyers, circulators, pamphlets, buttons, advertisings, or similar materials on the community center property unless authorized by the city manager. I don't think we can stop them.
That's like takeaway.
I mean, I think it's a First Amendment right that they can stand out front and do that if they want to. So, am I not right about that?
You're right.
Certainly safer to go in that option. The First Amendment rights get dicey, but I would always recommend you err on the side of not restricting.
I mean, we can't approve what they say, or what they give out, unless it's obscene, and then we could
Right.
call the police. chief.
So in some way you can approve, but you just can't approve it based on
We can't stop them if they just show up to
content-based
do it.
restrictions on what is being handed out.
Right.
Aside from obscenity
80.
and a few other exceptions.
And the next one pretty much says the same thing. No individual or group shall install, place, or hold a banner or sign or similar device on community center property without approval or designated location by the city manager or designee. I don't think we can stop them from doing that either. Maybe the location.
First Amendment
Yeah.
free speech
Yeah.
is obviously a very complicated topic. Generally speaking, you can restrict time and place, but you cannot restrict content. Now, I read this as being very content neutral and simply a time and place restriction.
Okay.
But if you're asking me what is safest, it is always safest to err on the side of caution and not do any restrictions to the extent that you feel you are able to do so while also protecting the interests of the city.
I mean, in all honesty, we've had people come here before who have protested, who have brought music and
Yeah.
shouting and yelling and hollering and prayer meetings.
That wasn't in the building. That was out
It
there.
says community center property.
Right, that's in there.
It doesn't say that.
No, it says property, that means outside.
Community center's right there.
If it says inside the community center, I'm totally okay with that.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't say that. It says own the community center property. It says own community center property without permit or approval. All right, I see the two of you back there.
You go first.
I agree with completely what you're saying. The only thing I have an issue with is the word install,
Yes.
right? I don't think we should remove the word install, because
No,
that
no.
means they can tack stuff up on the wall. And now you're talking about damaging paint, properties, and things of that nature.
Well,
So
that's
I agree with you.
actually listed somewhere else. All that's under decorations.
Okay, well, I was just saying the word install I agree with. The rest of it, that's fine, but.
I agree 100%. I don't want them installing anything
Right.
anywhere, even sticking anything in the ground. But I don't think we can, I mean, we know that when people show up and they want to protest, and they want to hand out flyers, and they want to yell and scream and holler, we can't stop them. We just have to turn up the volume in here. We know that. We've been through all that. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think we can stop them if we wanted to, because we tried. And the only reason we were able to do that was because Catch-22, somebody else called us. And that's the reason we were able to make progress there. So that's really the only thing. It also says, notwithstanding the above, any political speech activities or political advertisements shall be subject to city ordinance rules and regulations. I don't know that, I guess, do we have city rules and regulations about political speech?
You have generally sign ordinances, advertising ordinances, and those types of things. The way that I read that was referencing those ordinances.
So not political speech. I mean, somebody could stand out there and rant and rave. We couldn't stop them.
Correct.
I mean, I just don't want to get us in trouble.
I understand.
I would love to stop them from doing all this, but I don't know that we can.
I definitely hear what you were saying. I think, again, safer, yes, to eliminate that provision. All political speech, to some extent, is regulated under federal law, state law, ordinances, etc., etc. I read this as a very general.
So you think it's okay?
I do not read that as violating the First Amendment in any way.
Sounds good.
Unless our ordinances are in violation of the First Amendment, in which case, that's a bigger problem.
Okay, I just don't want to get in trouble for saying that they can't do something without permission. But we know we can't stop them really if they come up, if they show up. And it really does nothing to do with the community center, except it has to do with own community center property. All right, does anybody have any questions about multiple use? I think Miss Latricia had some herself. Because we do have some people who come every Sunday or every Sunday. We have people who come right now every Sunday. So I guess it says here that you, on activities on a long-term basis more than 3 months shall be prohibited unless authorized by the city manager or designee. And I know they've been here longer than that. So I just.
Jerry and I have talked about that group, and he was okay with it. Are you still okay with them?
Yeah. And now we don't charge them every time though, do we? Right now we don't charge them at all.
Right.
And they would be in that nonprofit area.
Right.
If we come when we get to the fees. Okay, and the other thing we talked about, right here when it talks about minors and supervision of children, right here it says that for every 15 children, there has to be one adult. And if you go to the next page, or 2 pages over, it says 1 for every 15 instead of 25. Have I got that right? Hold on. 1 for every 15. This one also says 1 for every 15, so that's okay. That's good. And we see the decorating guidelines, so I think we're okay. And the exterior political signs will follow the ordinance. Talks about noise control. And the next thing we have to come down to is the fee. At the bottom of page, what page would that be, 83? 82.
83, freaking question, man.
So 82. This is where we sit now. Okay, now we just divided into 3 categories now. If you go back to the very first page that we talked about, we may want to do something based on the categories. We said category 1 is us, and there is no charge. Category 2 is everyone else, private parties, special interest groups, commercial groups, private education organizations, resident private parties, special interest clubs, business organization, and nonprofits. We've just moved any of those that are a nonprofit, we've just moved to category group 3. Or we're talking about it anyway. It hadn't passed yet, but that's what we talked about. So that may be anybody from the Williston Animal Shelter to WAG to a church, a hunting club. Are they nonprofit? I don't know if a hunting club is nonprofit.
That is.
Huh?
Cason is.
Oh, Jack Cason's is nonprofit.
Who
Okay.
are we talking about?
We're talking about setting a different fee for a nonprofit
Okay.
than we would for all the others that are private parties or commercial.
There's gonna be a fee though, right?
Okay.
And right now, we've got everybody at the same $250 a day, with a $500 damage fee, and a $100 kitchen usage, and a $300 cleaning fee. The only thing they get back of that is the $500 damage fee, right? They don't get any of the rest of it back.
Does that $300 cover that kitchen?
You mean the cleaning?
Yeah. 'Cause that's the room and the kitchen, ain't it? I'm just curious.
It will be if they use the kitchen.
Is that on par though with standards? That seems cheap.
I know we pay 50 at the church and 80 at the women's club, so it is. That's just the 2 I'm familiar with. It's the only reason I can spout them off. So if you do $250 for the private parties and the commercial groups, what would you like to charge the nonprofits?
$100.
Okay?
Throwing a number out.
Sounds like a good number.
It does.
$100.
Plus the kitchen if they want it, plus the damage, plus the cleaning fee. And the only thing they get back is the damage.
Now, I did poll some cities, and the city of Newberry does not charge nonprofit. The city of Hawthorne does not charge nonprofit.
Do they charge them a cleaning fee? Because they make just as much mess as anybody else. So we've either got to charge the cleaning fee or we've got to charge $100.
Both.
Or both, yeah.
The cleaning fee is $100. I'm sorry, the cleaning fee is $300, I'm sorry.
Of the cities you just talked about?
But Newberry doesn't charge. No cleaning fee.
There's no cleaning.
They charge nothing for a nonprofit.
Correct.
If you're going to charge nonprofits to come in, they're just not gonna come, so you don't have a problem.
We're currently not charging nonprofits.
I know, but if you're going to, they're just not gonna come, so you won't have a problem. Charge them all you want, they're not gonna be here.
Does it cost us money as the city to have a nonprofit in here? That means we're cleaning, right?
We're cleaning and we're using our power. But I have a nonprofit and we had multiple events a year and we would rent community centers and we always paid something.
I had to pay.
We were never
Baseball, we
free.
only- yeah,
And we
baseball, only paid
definitely,
$100.
yeah, and we definitely still rented it.
Right. I mean, sometimes people get us free, but we went to Red, White, and Blues. I think we paid them $200 last year. We went at their place. Now, we didn't pay cleaning, we cleaned ourselves.
So are we raising any of these rates, Latricia, or are these all?
Right now, they're all free.
The,
So it'll be a shock to them.
yeah, the nonprofit is free. What about 25 or 50?
For cleaning.
Or for the rent, you mean, or for cleaning?
What should we call it, so that way they won't get deterred for not wanting to come? Because we don't want them to do that.
No,
Because it is a community.
we're not trying to run them off.
Right.
That's like the damage fee, I think that's high. I mean, if they were in the rug, it's not high.
So can we just take out the damage and just put down deposit? Just do away with the damage and just leave it as the deposit fee?
I would call it a deposit fee, not a damage fee.
Okay. Because that's what we do charge now, is a $500 deposit.
That's good. Even for the nonprofits? No,
Nonprofits.
we don't charge them anything, yeah. That's why it's hard.
Well, when we had damage at the Women's Club, we came here because it was a nonprofit. We were very happy you did not charge us anything.
Well, right now, we don't charge cleaning to them already, so I say take out the cleaning and just put it up to $100. Like I said, I mean, our boosters pays $100. I think $100, and that covers everything.
Covers the security and the cleaning for a nonprofit.
I mean, that's cheap.
Yeah.
Come close to part of the year this year.
Yeah. As long as you don't have more than 85 people, you're good. All right. I think we're about there. I know it's been a long night, but I think we're about there. Now, here's what I want to say. Do you want her to type it up and bring it back to us?
No, not if we're all in agreement of what we have.
Well, these questions.
I know you're laughing at me, but how do you know it's going to be written right when it comes back?
Questions frequently asked.
I have a
I
city
have
manager.
one there that I would question.
Terry.
Can I choose my own vendors? At the center, answer, you may choose your own caterer, or you may choose your own DJ, flutist, florist, and other vendors. You must bake prior arrangements. Do we want any liquor advertisements in there?
No, we don't allow alcohol or smoking.
Well, I think it needs to specify.
It said that somewhere further up.
Yeah, it's in here a couple of places. It's not right there, but it's
I know at
in.
the very end it says no alcohol.
Right.
But what about advertising alcohol? I think we should be specific there. No alcoholic beverages may be advertised. That goes along with the rest of it.
You say advertise, so you're just talking about like them putting a sign up for it?
Yeah.
Or flyer.
Well, I'm a lawyer about that. Does that go against the
First Amendment.
First Amendment there?
Well, we deny, street signs and things like that because it doesn't create the image that we want to show for the city of Williston. And we've turned them down. Had lawyers come in here. And, we said, we're still not gonna do it, and we didn't, and they went away.
They didn't sue us, huh?
No. Save that dollar. I just think if we're gonna be, we don't want somebody kind of slipping in the back door and putting balloons through there saying, drink X beer or whatever.
You all are
Pushing it
really
tonight.
tested my knowledge of the First Amendment and all related information. I don't see a problem with it. What I would ask is that you allow me to consult with someone at my firm who is more knowledgeable about this topic, and I will get with Latricia to make a determination on that.
Well, that's also why I'd rather have it come back, even for a read.
Well, you know, when that internet cafe stuff got started off, it went up and down and up and down.
Yep. We finally got them to close, but I don't think it was anything we did. I think it was the state that did it.
They said if you have an ordinance, which we did not.
We did not.
And never did, that I know of.
Still don't, as far as I know.
I think the one over there on the corner, nobody, I don't know anybody doing it, but that other, it was getting pretty popular.
Yeah, both of them are closed now.
Okay, good.
Madam President, may I make a request?
Yes.
Since we're going through this together as a family. Can we prohibit open flame?
I actually had that written down as well, where it talks about candles and open flames of certain types. I would rather have an LED candle than a candle.
What page is that?
Yeah.
It's in a couple of places, actually. It's in the frequently asked questions as well as, let me see, I think it's part of the decorations.
Is that excluding a city event? Well, because you guys have had catering for Thanksgiving and Christmas and other events, and they put that all on the table, and they have an open flame heater.
You get to have the Bunsen burner.
Yeah, you can have that.
You can have a Bunsen burner.
Well, I mean, to me, that's an open flame, that's why I'm saying.
Sterno.
Decorations and
No birthdays here.
open flame. It's under the decorations, on page 82. 82, page 8 at the top. Open flame is only allowed in a safe container. Placement and type to be approved by the event coordinator. I guess that means no eternity candles or incense. Because it's a wedding band.
So that means that it will be approved if they do.
Well, there goes my
Yeah.
vote machine.
Yeah. I'm gonna birthday candle. So you're gonna leave it like it is? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, as long as they,
Doesn't say no
as long as Ms. Patricia approves it.
I think instead of event coordinator, it needs to say city manager or designee.
On what page?
Page 82.
That's what we're doing.
82, number 8.
16 bushels of clams.
It says event coordinator. That could be the wedding planner or anybody, not us.
I don't know what section, I'm sorry.
It's page 11 in the handout. Sorry.
Okay.
And it's number 8 at the top.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to read it again in your packet?
We're talking about the next.
Not to go through it, but do you want to read it and approve it and vote on it at the next meeting, or do you want to vote now?
No, I mean, if you want to see it one more time to clarify it, then I say we need to look at it again next meeting.
Well, if she's looking at First Amendment things, I think we really need to see it again.
Right, then I say let's just do it one more time.
And we won't do it page by page, we'll just have a motion and vote.
Just a quick edit.
That's it. All right, so, and then the next item was tabled. We're down to public participation, if there's anybody still left that would like to participate. Anybody online, Anybody online, Mr. Wells? Anybody in the hallway, Mr. Carson?
Mr. Carson left.
Mr. Carson's all gone, right? He is only 8:30. It's only 8:30, it's not like it's 11 o'clock. And we've accomplished a lot. We've done golf carts and community center.
Nothing heard of
Tabled them all. We tabled What did you say? Guess I'll write something quick next time.
Yeah.
I promise. All right. Any announcements? Any announcements?
Baseball game Friday night. I am cooking, but you can come up there and buy barbecue plate for $6, bag of chips, sweet tea, and a barbecue sandwich at the baseball.
At the baseball field or the softball field? At the baseball
Friday
field.
night, home game. We'll probably be serving for the JV, which is at 4, but the varsity's at 7, so that'll be like the main thing. So it's the first home game. Come support Williston and buy a $6 barbecue sandwich.
Starting at what time?
7 is the varsity game. The JV is at 4.
But we can
So
buy
I will
dinner.
be at 4 with the barbecue in case somebody wants to get early.
Okay.
So anytime after 4.
And where's the baseball?
It's really just to shoot off the old fireworks.
The Williston Peanut Center. You know what I'm talking about? The Family Dollar.
Mr. Mayor, I saw your hand.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. I want to take a moment to apologize for being late, but I want everybody to know that many times when I'm asked to lead with an opening prayer, one of the first things on my prayer is for the police officers. And I was late today because I was at the funeral of an Alachua County police officer with one of our officers. And this officer took his own life. That's the kind of pressure that these officers live day after day after day. And I make no apologies for my prayers for them, but I ask you all to please consider this is a pandemic, literally, of officers taking their own lives that shows you the pressure that they're under. It was a very sombering affair. I expected it to be over at 5:30. That's why I accepted it. It was not. And out of respect for the other officers that help us, and we're all part of the same community, I just ask your forgiveness for being late. That's
You
all.
have mine.
We knew exactly where you were. The answer we did.
Okay,
We knew
good.
we announced where you were.
I
So we're good.
apologize for running my mouth.
No,
I didn't
don't
know
do that.
anyone knew. I thought I was being
No,
disrespectful.
no. We knew where you were, and we announced that at the very beginning. And so we appreciate you representing us.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, I never apologize for that. That's good. Anything else before for the good of the cause? I'm seeing Mr. Barber's hand.
I just need clarification from council on the workshops that are coming up, starting with this next council meeting. We had stated 4:30 to 6. I know that we have 4 utilities to cover, and we may or may not get through them. That's irrelevant. But for this and the next few meetings that we have on the dockets, I believe the second one in March and the first one in April are already booked as well. Does council desire for us to have some sort of break? Do you guys want to advertise that we don't start the actual council meeting then till 6:30, so we're not going from one to the other? And do you want us to provide any kind of food or refreshments? We just need to know these things before we get too close.
It's gonna be a long day again, man.
Correct.
Especially with the meeting that we're gonna have.
Let's make it 6:15.
6:15.
Let's make it 6:15, because somebody shows up at 6 o'clock, we still won't have to wait too long.
Okay. And, Donald, I was advised by the attorney that you cannot use the kitchen.
All right. Well, good luck fixing it then. But also, as far as the refreshments and all that, does council want anything on that? As far as between the meetings, for these workshops, does council desire to have anything available for the
Yes.
public?
Yes.
For the public.
Well, I mean, they're public workshops, so
What do you mean in the way of for the public?
do you want us to have any kind of food
Food.
or drinks?
I want you to have food and drink for us.
Yes.
Okay.
And if there's enough left, they can partake with us as well.
Would you like me to set it up in the kitchen, or where would you like me to set it up?
Our meeting at about
Set it up in
7.
the.
Yeah.
Nowhere there.
All right. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment, please.
I move that we adjourn.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Did anybody else have anything they needed to say?
Nope.
All in favor say aye. We said aye. We will adjourn at 8:40. Thank you.
And for those that are going to Live Oak on Thursday, we are leaving City Hall at 4 o'clock.